Welcome back to the Talk Yours podcast. In today's podcast, we will be reacting to the NBA Finals. We will be reacting to the Kevin Durant trade and then doing our own 2025 NBA mock draft. Because the draft is in 3 days, a lot has happened in the last week since we last recorded, and I just can't wait. This might be an hour and a half, 2 hours. You never know.
No.
Because I have a lot to talk about. Going ahead and starting with the OKC Thunder winning the NBA Finals in 7 games. In that game 7, unfortunately, Halliburton went down, and the Pacers made it a little bit competitive up until halftime, and then in that third quarter, I'm pretty sure the Thunder probably won by 19, 20, maybe even more in that quarter.
Yeah, I mean, the third quarter was a blowout.
Yeah, and everyone thought it would be a blowout. Pacers made it a little bit interesting in that fourth quarter, but ultimately, it ended up being a good 15-point game.
I mean, it's funny, the Pacers probably won the rest of the game, but the Thunder just blew them out in the third.
Yeah, just all around pretty embarrassing for the Pacers, but congratulations to the Thunder. I mean,
yeah.
Of course, people were saying throughout the playoffs, the Thunder should be winning all these games, but there were a lot of Thunder doubters and haters throughout the regular season with them winning 67 games, and it should have been apparent. Of course, they're going to win the finals, even though we both had them. A lot of haters. They proved everyone wrong. Shea, obviously having one of the best seasons of all time, being one of the only few players with a scoring title, an MVP, and a Finals MVP all in the same season.
Yeah.
Just ridiculous.
That's a short list. I mean, I don't know who's even on that list other than Michael Jordan.
I think it was Michael Jordan. I think it might have been Kareem, and I think it might have been... Was it Wilt? I don't think it was Wilt.
I mean, LeBron might be on that list, but it's just LeBron when he won his MVPs, he was dealing with prime Carmelo Anthony and Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
And those dudes were just scoring left and right. So I don't know. LeBron's a great scorer, obviously. I just don't know that he was necessarily winning scoring titles in Miami.
Yeah. Well, I saw the list. It was Mikan, it was Kareem, it was Jordan, and I think it was one other guy. But still, yeah, short list.
Yeah.
People are pretty, and I want to go, let's talk about these conversations. Some people think that this is one of the weakest teams that has won an NBA championship in these last 10 years, which I disagree. I do think that they need to do something to retool their roster in the offseason, but you don't win 67 games for no reason. I'm not saying it's one of the greatest teams ever, but I mean, they went 7 games, but that's because they've been so inexperienced, and this team's only really going to get better. I think, yes, they went 7 games in 2 different series, but one of them is Nikola Jokic, one of the greatest players ever. Or he will go down undebatably as a top 20 player, if not higher. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, it really shouldn't have even gone 7. They just choked. They had one of the biggest chokes ever in that game 1 versus the Nuggets. And then the Pacers were hot all finals long, or not all finals long, all playoffs long.
Yeah. And, really since the beginning of the year. I mean, not season wise, but 2025, they had the second best record in the NBA. So, I mean, people are going to look at the overall standings and say, the Thunder went through an 8 seed, a 4 seed. No, the Nuggets weren't even... Were the Nuggets 5th or 4th?
I believe, were 4th. Yeah, that game 7 was in
Denver. They went through an 8 seed, a 4th seed, a 6th seed, and a 5th seed.
But I mean, those kind of were the best teams. I don't know how many times...
Yeah, I mean, I think Golden State plays them better, personally.
Yeah, probably.
If Steph's healthy, but...
But outside of that, and I guess you can maybe say... Maybe Cleveland. Yeah. I don't know. It was honestly a pretty weird playoffs because there were a lot of injuries that happened throughout it. The Thunder played, an injured John Morant, which they were going to win the series anyway, obviously. Yeah. They played an injured Aaron Gordon, which isn't nearly as important as the rest of these injuries, but it still mattered in that game 7.
I mean, the way he was playing too. It really mattered, I think. So
the Minnesota was pretty healthy, I remember. I don't remember any injuries.
Yeah, Minnesota just got outplayed.
And then obviously Halliburton with the Pacers. But then also the Pacers kind of played a bunch of injury-prone teams with Damian Lillard getting hurt, Evan Mobley and Darius Garland getting hurt. Yeah. And then the Knicks were healthy. And then, yeah. So overall, just a pretty weird playoffs. 3 different players, 3 different stars tore their Achilles.
All wearing number 0.
All wearing number 0. Conspiracy theorists go crazy. I have a bunch of theories when it comes to the NBA. I'm not going to include that one personally. That one's not being added to the list. But yeah, one thing I also want to talk about and touch. Or yeah, let's just go ahead and give credit. Chet Holmgren in those finals was the best defender on both teams, even though his offense was super. He always looks scared of the moment. That's what kind of pisses me off as a guy who roots for Chet Holmgren. But just, super scared of the moment. But defensively, he had 5 blocks and a steal in that game 7. And honestly, his impact throughout the rest of the series, even if the stocks didn't show it, was there. I mean, no matter what, he was like, I think he might have been the biggest plus minus if I had to guess in that entire series outside of. Well, actually, one thing I do know is Halliburton was a positive plus minus, but Chet was probably a way higher plus minus than him. I don't know. I kind of had the stats to back that up. J-Dub might have been a little bit inconsistent, but his game 40 was super loud in that game 5. Like
His game 40?
That's a game 40. His 40-point game in game 5. That's what I meant to say. Oh my gosh, I'm tripping out.
All right.
And then obviously Caruso's impact throughout the entirety of the playoffs might have been the second best player when it comes to just impact guarding Jokic and all that. This team was great. You have anything else to say about the Thunder?
No, I mean, I feel like the idea that they're one of the weaker teams to win a championship in the last few years is a little ridiculous. I think it really just perpetuates from the fact that people don't look at Shea like a superstar, which is weird.
Which is crazy.
It is crazy because he is. At this point, there is no denying that he is. He won an MVP. He won the finals. He won the finals MVP. He led the league in scoring. Like one of the better statistical seasons ever, at least in the modern era.
Yeah.
It's just I think it comes from that, and I think it comes from the fact that they're young too. Which I honestly feel like when people talk about the difficulty of the playoff run, gives them more credit because you look at teams like let's talk about the Nuggets ring in 2023, right? Which a lot of people would point to and say that's one of the weaker rings that anyone's won in like the last decade. Because it is. And they obviously played decent teams. They played LeBron James in the conference finals. Miami was playing good at that time. They weren't playing as good as the Pacers.
Yeah, they were.
But Miami was still playing good enough to like go through the Eastern Conference. Relatively, like the Eastern Conference was relatively healthy too that year.
It really should have been. Tatum got hurt in that game 7. It really should have been Celtics that year, and then that would have been the real testament because the Lakers might have been the only good team they played. And
I still think the Nuggets probably beat the Celtics that year because the Nuggets just looked that good. But also, I feel like the Nuggets on that run, they were established. That core had been together for a while. This is really the second year of OKC having this core together with Chet, J-Dub, and Shea, and they won a championship.
Yeah.
So I don't think you can underestimate that. I think, they played these teams that might be whatever or not. I don't even know what that even means. I got to be honest, because these were the teams that were playing the best kind of come playoff time between the Nuggets and the Timberwolves or Warriors. The Timberwolves were playing really good, and the Pacers obviously were playing incredible. So I don't think you can underestimate the fact that this is a very young team, that a lot of teams don't win a championship this quickly. Even the Warriors did not win a championship this quickly with that core. It took them 4 years, I think, of having Draymond, Clay, and Curry to win that first championship. So
shout out Shea. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and play a little game, and we might make this into a short. We might not. But is this year's OKC Thunder team better than these previous championship teams? Do you think this year's Thunder team is better than the last year's Celtics?
Ooh. I don't know, dude. Last year's Celtics were really good. Like, I don't know. They just felt inevitable in a lot of ways.
Like they were dominantly good, and I even think in the playoffs
they were. Yeah,
they were very unfazed. Versus like this Thunder, even though the Thunder were the best team in the playoffs, there were times where like the Thunder actually looked shook. Versus the Celtics, that wasn't really the case. And obviously, if you just go by not games won, obviously. Hey, every champion won 16 games. But the amount of games played, the Celtics barely played. They probably played like 20, 21 games in that run.
Yeah. I'd give it to the Celtics personally. That's no disrespect to the Thunder, but that Celtics team last year beats a lot of teams. Yeah. Frankly. So
I'd go Celtics too.
Yeah.
2023 Nuggets.
I would personally say this Thunder team is better than the 2023 Nuggets.
I would too.
Because I think you look at the 2023 Nuggets and minus KCP, they're basically the same team. And there's a lot of holes with that team that get covered up by Jokic.
And not a very deep team at all.
No, and they really, like, looking at that run, were benefited a lot by the way Bruce Brown played in that playoff run.
Which they'd have, Bruce Brown.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a very good bench player. But also at the same time, I don't know. Like, I think if they played in this kind of year where, like, there's so many good players.
But the hard part is, too, like, this year's Nuggets took the Thunder to 7.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I mean, that's a good point, and obviously the 23 Nuggets are better than this year's Nuggets, but I think I'd still give it to the Thunder, and I think the reason is, and you know what, we're gonna go away from the short because I actually kind of wanted to get to something like we're gonna get heated about this maybe, but this year the NBA allowed physicality more than like any time in the last 15 years, and a lot of people will say that the Thunder have this incredible whistle when it comes to defense. Now, I listen. If you want to say Shea has an amazing whistle on offense, go ahead. In my opinion, yes, the Thunder are very physical on defense, but what the NBA has allowed so far this season is for defenders to get physical outside the 3-point line, which is what the Thunder abused that. They were hand checking all game. But also, if you go back and watch the finals, like I'll watch some of the Game 7 back, and the Pacers were also hand checking a good amount of the time. The problem is the Pacers don't really have discipline when it comes to the second someone drives in. Like no matter what, I think we've talked about this before, but no matter what, once a player goes into the shooting motion, the refs, like every player kind of has the same whistle. And the fact that like the second someone goes up for a shot, if you get hit and it's a foul.
Yeah.
And I think what Shea's, in my opinion, like, yeah, his ability to create space is a great asset, but his greatest asset might even just be knowing when a defender is going to foul him, because that's a skill. I'm sorry. Like when we play basketball, like amongst each other as friends, there's some people who know when a foul is coming more than others. I'm someone who I get flustered. I never know when someone's going to foul me, so I can never really foul bait all too often. And I really think that's something where, like, I've looked back in NBA history, and a lot of guards, if you're a guard 6'6" and under, you kind of can get that whistle. Like we look at Dwayne Wade, historically got an amazing whistle. Kobe Bryant, not nearly as much. The foul baiting's not similar to Shea's, but he still was good at baiting for fouls. I think if Tyrese Haliburton knew how to bait fouls, the whistle would give him, or the refs would give him just as good of a whistle as they give Shea. The problem is Haliburton, in my opinion, he probably can't do that, because there's no way he just thinks it's all ethical hoops, because if you're a competitor, you're going to try and find every advantage to win. And when Tyrese drives, he really drives with no contact.
And lest we forget, the first point guard that Shea played with when he was getting like real legitimate minutes. I mean, he got legitimate minutes on the Clippers, but like when he really started to come into his own and become Shea, Chris Paul.
Yeah.
Let's not. I mean,
another guy with a great whistle.
I mean, one of the smartest players in NBA history, hate him or love him. That guy knows how to manipulate the rules like nobody else. So of course Shea developed a good understanding of that, because Chris Paul is a guy who you can see the impact of. I feel like he doesn't get enough credit for that in terms of like how other players look after they play with Chris Paul.
Yeah.
I think generally he is a benefit to his teammates.
No, he actually
like
makes his
a
teammates
huge
better.
benefit. Because he played on the Warriors last year, right? I genuinely think it helped Pods.
You think?
I do. I mean, I don't think Pods is like this great player. He's not Shea by any stretch of the imagination. But I do think if you look at his ability to play make at times, which he didn't show in the playoffs, but I do think he made him a better player.
Yeah.
So
I also even think I saw Steph Curry baiting a little bit more this year than any. Like,
as he should, because honestly, Steph Curry is on the opposite end of that, where like I feel like he could bait for fouls, but it's almost like he believes he has a better chance of making the layup than getting the foul call.
Yeah.
So he just goes for that anyway.
Which is fair.
But,
yeah, he's still one of the best, top 2 point guards of all time without the whistle.
And he's like one of the, I mean, I feel like this is so underrated, but he's one of the best finishers in the NBA and has been for the last decade.
Yeah.
Like him and Kyrie Irving, no, they're not on the same level, but it's obviously Kyrie. And then I think Steph is in that next, like, because Kyrie's on a level of his own, but then Steph's definitely in that next level down. So
with like, well, no, I still choose players like John Westbrook. Well, not Westbrook right now, but like a prime Westbrook, be way better finishers. But
yeah,
I mean, Curry is like an efficient ass finisher.
Yeah,
and he'll make some tough layups.
Yeah. No, I guess what I want to say about Shea and I want to say about the whistle is I don't like watching it.
Oh, I know.
Right.
This is the most unsuccessful hate watch you've ever had. I feel like
it really was. Yeah. But the funny thing is I picked the Thunder to win the finals.
You did, yeah.
Because regardless of how much I dislike watching something, I also acknowledge that it's effective and that it works. And it works. And I don't know. It's so 50-50 for me because as a basketball fan, I don't like watching it. But as someone who can appreciate someone using every advantage. He does. Like, I can respect what he does within the rules, because if you really have a problem with it, then the NBA should change the rules and not allow that. Now, that's an argument in and of itself. Should the NBA allow defenders more leniency? Should the NBA be more strict about what they consider to be a swipe through, like a legitimate shot versus what's a swipe through? I don't know. I'm not on the board of like NBA officiating experts.
Okay.
But what I will say,
You go ahead.
No.
We can talk about that.
What I will say is that I do believe that Shea's ability to draw fouls is a skill more than it is just luck. I believe that it's something that he works on. I believe that it has to do with his intelligence and his awareness. And you're absolutely right about the hand checking. The Pacers and the Thunder do the exact same thing, and that's the reason they got this far. You look at it, the two teams that played the most physical defense, which a lot of people didn't associate with Indiana, but Indiana played really physical defense and full court pressed a lot of the teams for the majority of games. Those two teams are the teams that made it to the finals. And I think it resulted in really good basketball. And I think it's a direction that the NBA should continue to go. And I don't feel like either of those teams should be looked at in a poor light because they push the line of physicality. If you as an NBA team are not pushing the line of physicality until you get told don't do that, that's a foul, you're not trying hard enough. You have to push that line of physicality. And that was something, even as I was watching the game last night, I really recognized. And I'm like, the problem is that the NBA officiates the game differently in the regular season versus the playoffs, so you have an expectation of what's called. But as a team, you push that line of physicality until someone tells you that you can't do that or it's a foul, right? Yeah. Like, I think Shea and Jada both ended up with 5 fouls in that game.
All right,
by the end.
Both of them almost fouled out.
So I mean, it's like they push the line right to the edge, as you should,
Yeah. So you say you shouldn't. You're not going to be the judge of that. But let's go ahead and be the judges. Clearly, guards are the ones that always get the better whistle. You'll get guys like LeBron and Zion who get, like this terrible whistle. And it's really because, when you're growing up and you're like, let's say me, because I'm an average height. When I'm a freshman in high school and I'm 5'1", 5'2", probably very early as a freshman in high school. Right. I'm not thinking, like, oh, one day I'm going to grow up and I'm going to play like LeBron or Zion. Yeah. I'm thinking, I'm trying to look up to the guards that are realistic to me. And that's probably why they try and give these 6-foot guys an advantage in the NBA, because without these 6-foot guards in the NBA, like, it just wouldn't look as realistic and it wouldn't look like a dream that most people could attain to, even if obviously it's not an attainable dream. It already crushes your dreams when you're a freshman in high school.
When you realize like even me at like 6'2" and I'm like below average for the NBA.
Yeah.
And like on average I'm like tall, but it like I'm the one that has to like try to play like a guard in order to make it. Even if I like had like all that potential and skill level and work ethic and everything else, right? That goes in, like, there's so much, but
right. So obviously if there was 6'7", 6'8" guys at point guard, it would not look realistic for either of us.
Right.
So for that reason, the NBA does allow, shorter guards to kind of have that leniency of being able to foul bait versus like they'll let it go if someone taller does it, with the exception of, for some reason, Embiid, right?
Yeah. The problem is though, or actually finish your thought.
Well, I was just going to ask you, do you think the NBA, because right now it seems like a lot of fans are kind of hating on Shea for doing that. They're hating on Brunson. They're hating on Trae Young. Should the NBA take I think the NBA should take a couple years break and just let the big men dominate again so that people remember what they're missing. Because I like the fact that smaller guys are finding ways to dominate. Now, obviously they can't do it physically and there's only so much you can do with shooting. So getting to the free throw line helps them do that. Yeah. If we just give everyone the same whistle, then it will be the Zions, the Giannis's, the Jokic's, the LeBrons all dominating again, which just isn't like when you're a kid, you want the smaller guy. Like, being the smaller guy is the underdog. People rooted for Iverson. They rooted for Kobe, even though Kobe's weird because Kobe tried admitting to do you remember that video of Kobe saying that, like, oh, I was never the fastest, I was never the strongest, even though he's like literally a genetic freak. Yeah. Like, I understand compared to some other NBA players, he's not.
Like, but I feel like Kobe's like enough of a psycho that in his mind he's like, I'm not as fast as Michael Jordan. I can't jump as high as Clyde Drexler. I feel like that's like his psycho mentality where he's like, I'm not the fastest because I'm like the second fastest. Yeah. You know what I mean? I feel like that's something he would say.
Which is it's great for his mentality. I'm not glad me hearing that though. I'm like, oh my gosh. So
it is a little bit,
your genetics are still way superior to mine. Yeah. But do you think should the NBA take a couple years and eliminate this foul baiting and just let the bigger guys dominate?
So I don't think eliminate it entirely. But I do think, and I listened to Adam Silver. He talked to Kevin Garnett, I think it was a couple years ago on Kevin Garnett's podcast I don't know if he does it now still, but
I think he does with Paul Pierce. But
yeah. So Kevin Garnett's podcast, he did like a one-on-one with Adam Silver, and he talked to him about the rule changes in the NBA. That was one of the things they talked about was the rule changes in the NBA to benefit smaller guards, the officiating, the elimination of hand checking, stuff like that. And Adam Silver directly said, we did that intentionally. And this goes back to probably David Stern even. But we did that intentionally because we wanted to see the guys like Steph Curry dominate the game because their skill level indicates that they should dominate the game, but their physicality and their ability to be physical was not being supported by the way the game was officiated at the time.
Yeah.
So we wanted the skill level to come through, right? So I 100% agree with that. But I do feel like it's gotten to the point where it's no longer about skill level and it's starting to become about manipulation of the rules. And I feel like that's the line that you need to tread very carefully, is where you are no longer promoting players' skill level, but you're promoting an ability to manipulate the rules. And it's not necessarily the player's fault, but in terms of the watchability of the game, I feel like the NBA should do something about it. I feel like there should be rule changes. I'm not saying you get rid of it entirely, but I'm saying, like, is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander as good of a player as Stephen Curry, skill-wise?
Skill-wise?
Yes.
Probably, well, no.
So then in that circumstance, I don't want Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to have the same statistical success as Steph Curry because he is able to manipulate the rules, if that makes sense. Like, I want the reflection of the production on the court and the success to be reflective of the skill level of the players. That's my perfect NBA. You know what I mean? So I feel like now we're moving in a direction where it's like Joel Embiid is one of the most skilled centers of all time, yet he's more focused on drawing fouls often than he is showcasing his skill. He could probably still average 30 points per game if he wasn't focused on drawing fouls. But the fact that he is not only takes away from his watchability, it also takes away from the perspective of him being a talented player, right?
Yeah.
Because Joel Embiid is maybe like a top 10 offensive center of all time, if not top 5, when it comes right down to what he can do on the court. He's 280 pounds with a turnaround mid-range jumper and a handle, and he can shoot threes. When have we ever seen that before?
Yeah, we never have. So he's obviously one of the most talented.
So I guess that's my statement then, is I don't believe we should move in this direction of like, let's just eliminate the ability. Let's bring back hand checking. Let's bring back, no flagrant fouls in the paint. Let's do I don't want to see 90s basketball. No. I don't want to see 80s basketball. That's not what I want to see. I love the new era of basketball. But I want to see a balance between what we saw in the 80s and the 90s and what we're seeing now, where it's like, yes, I want Jalen Brunson to showcase his talent. Yes, I want Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to showcase his talent, even though Shai's 6'6". So I feel like there's a bit of a line with that where it's like he's not one of those small guards. No, he is 6'6". But I want to see those guys showcase their talent. I want to see the Trey is even a little bit on that line too. But like, I want to see Trey Young showcase his talent, not in the foul baiting way, but in his actual talented way, because he is a talented player.
Yeah.
But I don't want to see these guys blatantly be able to manipulate the rules in order to get an edge on other guys. And it doesn't even have to do with skill anymore. And it doesn't even have to do with a willingness to do that. It just has to do with play style. Like if Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was built more like an Anthony Edwards, he wouldn't get those foul calls. But because he is lanky, and I'm not hating on Shai. I want that to be very clear. But it's just a matter of the fact that he is lanky, he is lighter, he is going to fall down easier, so he's going to get those foul calls more.
Yeah.
Than an Anthony Edwards or someone who is built more muscular. Nothing against Shai, but it is just a fact of the matter that like I don't feel like you should get rewarded for being slight of build.
No.
You know what I mean?
You shouldn't.
Just as much as a player shouldn't just like get this huge benefit because they're Zion or because they're LeBron, right?
Yeah. It's hard because the obvious answer is, either adding or eliminating a rule that would allow the foul baiting not to happen. Unfortunately, I think when you do that, there's like very small, like the second they add a rule that says, oh, you can't do this, there's going to be some sort of get around to that where now defenders actually can just like not shove, but they can really defend with their hands, and all of a sudden it's not a foul because of this, specific rule added. So the only real solution I would think, because maybe you could do that, I think it would take a lot of like there'd have to be 20, 30 lawyers on the case to make sure there's nothing to get around it. Like, because these
Well, yeah.
NBA players have their own lawyers where that's what I think. I think as much as I think James Harden's just reading the rule book, I think they're hiring people to be like, hey, find me a loophole where I can average 30.
I mean, they should. If they're not, they should have someone in their ear telling them like, hey, I went through the NBA rule book. You can do this if you want to. And defensive players should do that too. No, I mean, there's always going to be a crack that something slips through, but the NBA shouldn't do nothing is my point.
Yeah. The solution to the problem should already be, it kind of already is a thing, but they never call it. The flopping tech is never called. And I understand why. If they called every flop, the game would never end. Like there would be 50, 60 free throws for each team.
Yeah.
So I do think that like they need to start implementing it, not even slowly, like at a medium pace, not like, call every single one, but start calling it to the point to scare the players of flopping.
Yeah. I disagree. Start of next season, call that shit as hard as you want. Every single time they flop. Give it 10 games. That's not happening anymore.
Man, that'd be a brutal 10 games.
Yeah, it would. It would be a brutal 10 games, but it would fix the problem. Like, I really, you give it 10 games of like let's say it, and does it, I don't know the rule. Does it get counted as like an actual tech? Like a technical foul?
It should. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it does.
So if it does, you give it like a few games of these guys getting ejected. Like Luka gets ejected in like 3 games of the first 10.
Yeah,
they're cutting that shit out. Like I'm sorry. Like I don't know. I understand accentuation has always been a part of the NBA, and it's going to be it's going to be in any sport with like human referees. I've told you about baseball, the accentuation of the ball, right? Moving the pitch to look like it's in the zone. It's always going to be a part of the game, like a physical manipulation of something. But the flopping has got to go. So that's something we've known for a while. That's why they implemented this flopping tech in the first place.
Yeah.
So
I think the problem is also like, what if the refs are just kind of wrong and it wasn't a flop and then they call it? So like in the ideal world, I do think the flopping tech is great. I could see it being something where like the refs just miss something and they'll just assume the player's flopping.
Why don't you just, instead of making it a tech, make it the same thing as a clear path foul?
Two free throws and the ball?
No, 1 free throw. Sorry. So 1 free throw.
All right, like a tech.
Yeah, but you don't count it as an actual tech.
Oh, I said like it doesn't add up.
So that way, like, because, I mean, yeah, as much as it's like that hard and fast rule would cut that out immediately, we're going to have players getting suspended left and right by like game 40 because they're going to accrue so many techs. Like Draymond might miss 10 games in a season just off of technical suspensions.
Yeah.
Like if that becomes a rule. So, I don't think counting it as a tech. I think that was the problem is they counted it as a tech because they wanted it to be this hard and fast rule. And then they realized they couldn't implement it or they were going to screw over like their later games of the season and they wouldn't be able to call techs later in the season.
Yeah.
But in that case, maybe you call techs for flopping and then you let them jaw at each other a little bit more. So I don't know, like, because I feel like they should be able to talk to each other. I feel like if you dunk on somebody, you should be able to go like this and not have it be called a tech.
Oh, no, for sure.
So I think that's the other way where it's like, let's get rid of that.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I mean, that's a whole nother discussion because that should be obvious. Like the fact that the NBA is so strict on these technical fouls does kind of piss me off. But flopping is one of those things that they should crack down on.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and continue though.
Let's
10, 15-minute intermission. 2022 Warriors.
Mm-hmm. I watched a lot of the 2022 Warriors.
I'm going to Thunder.
I would say this Thunder team is better.
Yeah.
Because and as an overall team. Because don't get me wrong, Klay Thompson's Klay Thompson, Draymond Green is Draymond Green, and Jordan Poole had a great run. But Klay Thompson was not the same Klay Thompson defensively that he was when they won their championships earlier. Draymond Green was not the shooter that he was when they won their championships earlier. And as good as Jordan Poole was, he was up and down.
He was up and down. I just think a guy like Kevon Looney, like, yeah, he's strong.
Kevon Looney works within the Warriors, like, system.
Yeah.
I would say. Like, but against a Chet.
I still don't, I just don't think, like, what centers did Looney go against in that run?
He went against,
So who's the first round?
So the first round was Denver, so he went against Jokic.
Oh right, yeah, he did.
But to be honest,
had no
that,
one.
that was a more Draymond Green heavy series than it was a Kevon Looney heavy series.
Oh right, it was
Because
yeah, yeah.
Draymond Green was the primary defender on Jokic.
Second year was what?
So second round they played Memphis. So Jaren Jackson Jr., Brandon Clark, that was kind of like their interior rotation. Jaren Jackson Jr. is not a great like rebounder, so I feel like that opened up more room for Looney to do what he did.
Yeah.
Third round they played the Mavericks, who had it was post Porzingis.
Dude, that might have been Dwight Powell.
It might have been. So another series, and then they played the Celtics with Horford and
Time Lord.
Yep, Robert Williams.
Which, I mean, personally, I don't. If my memory serves me correctly, I could be wrong. Looney was way better in those third and fourth rounds than against Memphis.
Yeah, and Wiggins also helped a lot with rebounding.
And Wiggins, yeah,
in the finals. So
overall, this OKC defense is insane, and I think
yeah,
there was a good amount of times where you not like a total mismatch, but scoring on guy like Shea could find a mismatch against a guy like Poole or Otto Porter,
right. And as good as Steph is, like if it really would come down to whether or not Poole and Clay could have good series or Wiggins, because if Steph is the only focus, that Thunder defense would just swarm him.
Yeah,
and I don't think any player, short of maybe like LeBron, is going to be able to, like, when it comes to that level of like swarming defense, is going to be able to figure out a way out of that. So
I think like Steph's a great. Then again, I don't know. Draymond and Curry are some pretty smart players. I do feel like a very smart like the two.
That's a tough one.
Two series that went 7 against the Thunder were against Halliburton and Jokic, versus the other two were. I mean, no one's that great of a playmaker on the Wolves, and then
it's
those 2 games with John Morant.
It's so. The problem is Corby is like. Originally, I didn't agree with this whole idea that the Thunder are like one of the weaker finals teams, but the more we like go through these teams, I'm kind of like, they might be, even though they won 68 games.
You think? Well, we could just keep going
because they're better. They're better than the 21 Bucks, I think.
Oh, you're saying they're not one of the weakest?
No, I'm saying they are.
Oh, but you said, but they're better.
So they're better than the 21 Bucks, but they're not better than the 2020 Lakers.
I don't know.
And them and the 22 Warriors, kind of like, the more I think they're kind of like on the same level, where like maybe I'd give the edge to the Thunder because of depth, but also like Steph Curry.
Okay, so the Lakers were great, right? But that was a team that was starting a 7-year-old Rajon Rondo and like a Dwight Howard. I understand they were great. They were probably the best team. They were definitely a top 2 or 3 team that year. Like, I'll just be honest, like, even though the Lakers won it all, were they a better team than the Clippers that year? The Lakers?
Yes.
You think they were?
MVP level LeBron, MVP level 80. They had the best duo in the league by far.
They had a great Kawhi Leonard, great Paul George.
Yeah, they did, and they lost to the Nuggets.
Yeah.
Like, at some point, it's what you have, and at some point, it's what you do. So
I'd personally say the Thunder is still better than the Warriors, and then they're on the same tier as the Lakers. And then, but yeah, but the Thunder are better than the Bucks.
Yep. 2019 Raptors.
I think I'd give it to the Raptors. To be honest, like them beating that Philly team was way more impressive than them beating the Warriors. Just
because the Warriors were hurt.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, that Raptors team.
It was just the talent wasn't all the way there, but it kind of was. Like, they had Lowry, they had Van Vliet, they had Siakam.
We'll let Siakam get his back.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
They had obviously Kawhi Leonard. Marc Gasol was actually still a good starting center at the time. Oh yeah, did the Lakers have Marc Gasol? Or no, I think that was the year after.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, and then 18 Warriors, 17 Warriors.
So let's just start it with 19. So you think the Lakers? You think the Thunder are better?
I think they're only definitively better than one team in that span.
But you said easily the Bucks.
Exactly.
What about the Nuggets? Or no, not Nuggets. Yeah, the Nuggets.
Yeah, but the Nuggets took them to 7 this year with a worse team.
So you think
it's like hard for me to go that they're definitively better than that Nuggets team when the Nuggets already took them to 7 this year with a worse team and a hurt Aaron Gordon in Game 7. Like if the Thunder, if Aaron Gordon's healthy in that Game 7, I'm not saying they necessarily win, but we could be having like a very different conversation right now.
But I also think you could argue that Jokic is better right now than he was in 23.
You could, and you'd probably be right in saying that.
I also think Aaron Gordon was a lot better this year.
Aaron Gordon is probably better this year, but I would argue Jamal Murray was better that year, and MPJ was better that year.
MPJ was definitely better.
And they had KCP and Bruce Brown. And I feel like they had someone else that I'm not remembering. They didn't have Gary Harris, did they? Or did they?
I don't remember them having.
Will Barton?
No, I don't think they had either. Maybe Gary. I don't think the Gary Harris. I think their ninth man literally was DeAndre Jordan.
Get him off the team, man. Dude, let it go.
So because it was the starting five with KCP. Obviously, it was Bruce Brown. It was who else was off that bench again?
I'm looking this up,
dude.
I can't.
That bench. Yeah, they didn't have no Russ or anything. They didn't have Monte Morris at the time. I'm pretty sure he was before. That Nuggets team was not great. So personally, I would have the OKC Thunder better than the 23 Nuggets, the 22 Warriors, and the 21 Bucks.
So that Nuggets team had Christian Brown, which I can't believe I forgot he was on that team.
He was decent.
He was decent. Bruce Brown, Thomas Bryant.
Oh, they did have Thomas.
KCP. Concar wasn't getting. I want to see who was getting minutes in the finals.
Yeah, just go down.
Oh yeah.
Go down to the playoffs.
Yeah. Where's that?
Just
here we go.
Right there. Sort by minutes and go and just name the first 10.
So Jamal Murray played. He played 40 minutes a game in the playoffs.
Jokic.
I mean, Jokic still played 39 and a half.
Yeah.
They were running him into the ground. So Jamal Murray, Jokic, Aaron Gordon played 36 minutes a game. KCP played 34 minutes a game. MPJ 33. Bruce Brown 26 and a half. Jeff Green 17. Christian Brown 13. Then that was their rotation. It was eight people. So looking at what they produced.
Oh yeah, Reggie Jackson was on that team, but he
did not play.
He played the regular season. I'm taking the Thunder. I mean, I'm sorry, Jeff. Green, Christian Brown that year wasn't great. He was nowhere near as good.
It's Bruce Brown played good in this playoff run for sure. I mean, he shot. Yeah,
I think that's 5 really good guys, Cam.
Yeah, that's the same.
Because MPJ was not great in that playoff run.
You're just subbing out. I mean, KCP might have been more valuable for the team overall, but you're just subbing out KCP for Christian Brown.
I mean,
and it's a very similar team.
This year had Russ.
Yeah.
Russ wasn't great.
Yeah, and look, I mean, Jamal Murray and Jokic both had incredible play. Jokic averaged 30, 14, and 10 with a steal and a block on 55, 46, 80. So
46 from Jokic, you said?
Yeah, from 3.
Yeah. I know Jokic was also great this year.
Yeah.
That Jokic was insane.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I was saying, you probably got to give it to this Jokic as being better, but, I don't know, dude. He's just good. He's just been really damn good for a really long time.
All right, you thought about it? Cam, I'm giving you fast money, okay? So I want you to answer all these in a row. Which of these teams is better than the OKC, or is this team better than the OKC Thunder?
Yeah.
24 Celtics.
Yes.
23 Nuggets.
No.
22 Warriors.
Yes.
21 Bucks.
No.
20 Lakers.
Yeah. Yes. So that's 3 of the last 5.
And then 19 Raptors.
19 Raptors. 4 of the last 6, I would say, are better.
So they rank what? That's
so they rank 5th of the last 7 champions.
Yeah, I guess that is technically one of the weaker ones. That's middle of the pack.
Yeah.
In my opinion, top 2 were higher, bottom 2 are lower.
And I got to be honest, it really just is off this playoff run. And this is the point I wanted to get to. So let's circle back around to the actual finals themselves.
Yeah.
And kind of my takeaway from it. OKC's a great team. OKC was a really good team this year. And going into these playoffs, I was like, this team is going to be a dynasty. They won 68 games in the regular season, which improves on where they were last year, and they finished first place last year. They have so many picks in the coming years. And then they played. And I know they're young, so there's a lot of time for them to develop and get better. I don't know if they have the dynasty core yet. I think they are a piece or two away from being. And listen, they're a championship favorite next year. Let's not get it wrong. But I'm saying, like, when I was looking at this team in the regular season, I was like, these are the next Warriors. This is going to be a team that you could bank on to make the finals every single year. And maybe it's the parity of the NBA, but I don't feel that way about the Thunder right now. And I people probably didn't feel that way about the Warriors after 2014-15, but that was also the first year the Warriors were like that good, right? This is the second year of the Thunder being that good. And I just think they're a couple pieces away. I think even though you won the championship, you're active in the offseason. What pieces do you keep? What pieces do you get rid of? I think J-Dub, Shea, and Chet are all pretty much locked down. I don't think any of those guys are going anywhere for the next couple years at least.
So you think they should keep all three?
Yeah, for the time being.
Okay. You know what? Because I agree with you. I think they definitely need to make some changes.
Mm-hmm.
Let's play a game. Let's play another game.
Let's play a game.
Let's play some games.
Jigsaw over
all
here.
Right. So the OKC's top 9 rotation is, let's say they're starting 5 with Hartenstein, right? So
right.
Shea, J-Dub, Dort, Chet, Hartenstein.
Yeah.
Their top guys off the bench are Casey Wallace, Caruso. Casey Wallace, Caruso. I guess what is Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins next? Am I missing someone?
Casey Wallace, Caruso, Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins.
I mean, they have like guys like Kenrich Williams and stuff. He's not.
I don't feel like you're missing anybody.
Okay.
If we are, I mean,
of those 9 players, how many of them should either be traded or not playing at all next season?
Oh well,
in the rotation.
Number 1, Lou Dort. Lou Dort has got to go. I'm sorry, he's a good defender, a great defender even. His offensive inability is perhaps one of the reasons they almost lost a couple of these series.
Yeah.
He just, like, on any other team, he's more valuable than he is on the Thunder. But because the Thunder have so many great defenders, and because they also have a Chet Holmgren at the rim, you don't need Lou Dort.
No.
So I think give him to a team that's hungry for a point of attack defender and get a better offensive player off your bench.
Yeah, I also think they don't. I think any other team would need him. And the reason the Thunder don't is, 1, because they have enough defense, but 2, they have enough assets where they have a great player.
AJ Mitchell is just on the bench. He's not even playing.
Yeah.
And he could like slide into the rotation if Lou Dort gets traded and they get literally nothing but picks back for him, which they wouldn't. They would get a player back for him.
Right.
But even then, they've got so many guys in their rotation.
Because there's no way Dort's making that much money. He's probably making like, what, 18 a year?
Probably.
It's not crazy at
most.
All.
Yeah.
Because he's a great defender. He's still like, obviously he deserved, I forget if he made it, deserved either first or second team all defense.
Mm-hmm.
And there is times where I know as a OKC hater, it pained you to watch that Michael Jordan-esque layup that he made and that crazy catapult 3.
Oh yeah, I mean some of the shots he makes are incredible, but the consistency or lack thereof of his offense. Dude, what was it, game 3 when he started taking pull-up mid-range jumpers? I know OKC fans had to be pissed.
Yeah.
Even this last game, I know they won. I know it was a blowout. He was chucking. And that's not who the guy you want chucking. Shea went, 8 for 27? Love it. Empty the clip.
Yeah.
You're the best player in the series.
And by the way, I don't even think he had that bad of a game, because I'm pretty sure at one point he was 8 for 20. And then in that fourth quarter, he was emptying the clip to hurry and get that game over with. Unfortunately, nothing hit. Some fans are saying he was trolling in that fourth quarter just to,
I mean, he do it for the TikTok edits. No, I feel like a lot of his misses were him winding down the clock and running clock, so they were still valuable possessions, even if he didn't end them with a make. Because if he got sped up and that offense got sped up, then Indiana has a chance to get back in that game. Because they were down 10 with like 2.5 minutes left, right? If they were down 10 with like 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes left, that's a totally different game.
Right.
But,
dude, I just kind of realized, I think I was going to make shorts out of those. I think I was holding my mic like this, just covering my whole face. Dude, this big microphone is so new to me.
Dude, it is actually huge, like, looking at it.
Like, compared to, look how big.
Dude, Corby, hold that thing up in front of your face. That takes up your whole face.
It does. Like, if you did that, like, it still covers it up, but it's like, well, I think it's also more natural to have it lower, too. Like, holding this one, I don't know. I should be holding it.
I don't know what reason I would have to hold it here.
No, versus, like, me,
I'm letting my forehead talk today.
So,
So yeah, Dort's number 1.
Dort's number 1. Who's the second guy?
Who's
in that
the second guy out?
So to remind you, the starting five with
Right,
double bigs,
starting five with the double bigs, and then
Caruso,
Caruso, Kaysen. You keep Kaysen.
Joe and Wiggins. Is it just Joe and
You
Wiggins?
might trade Joe and Wiggins. You
Okay.
might even trade Hartenstein. I know Hartenstein was good this year.
Yeah,
I think you can get a little bit better than Hartenstein. He was not great in the playoffs.
I think so too.
So,
What's your answer? Are you including Hartenstein, or are you just going the bottom two of the 9?
I'm including Hartenstein. I'd actually include Hartenstein before one of those bottom 2 of the 9, honestly.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, I mean, I guess, I don't know. It's tough because it's like, how much defense do you want to give up? Like, Isaiah Joe's not a good defender or on the level of like these other guys.
No, I'd still say he's a good defender.
I don't know how good of a
yeah.
defender Aaron Wiggins is. I got to be honest. You watch more Thunder basketball than I do, so I'll defer to you on that
I think
one.
he's the weakest one.
So
I don't think he's like they'll never run like a cone or anything. But like
I don't think so. Then I don't think you'd look to trade Hartenstein this offseason.
I'd say he has average defense, Aaron Wiggins.
Yeah.
But I also think he's also one of those guys that just like he can shoot, but he just makes kind of stupid decisions. I think personally, I'm going Dort Hartenstein.
You think they still trade Hartenstein in the offseason? Or look, not that they do, but like
I think they should.
you would look to.
I would look to. I mean, at the end of the day, whether they have Hartenstein or not, I think they're still a 60+ win team. That you have the championship, you don't need to go for 70 wins again. And I think Hartenstein's impact in the regular season was way more impactful than the playoffs. And obviously, technically, every player's is because you win way more games in the regular season than the playoffs.
Yeah.
But like it dropped so significantly. Where like sometimes I just felt like, well, one, I don't think he's a good duo with Chet. Even though they started that in the regular season and it worked out, I think in the playoffs, you start Chet at the 5.
I think it worked out because they were so good. That was the thing that I like watching the Thunder. Is that stupid thing Mateen said?
What?
He was like, you know what the Thunder offense is? Do it, cuh. Dude,
Yeah.
that's it. They're just like, that's their offense, is just like pass it to somebody and have them go to work.
And I think
They get away with just playing with more energy and being better than other teams. For that team to really become a dynasty, what's their identity? Is their identity just swarming defense? Because at that point, you're just like trying to get perpetually younger all the time.
right.
I feel like they have to develop a little bit more of an identity offensively. Defensively, their identity is great because they were one of the best defensive teams of the last 10 years. But offensively, I feel like they need more of an identity. And I feel like you need to you need to put guys around Shea that fit that identity.
And I really think just because they have so many assets, that's why they can afford to do this. If they're any other team that doesn't have a bunch of future firsts, they don't have,
You run it back.
then you just run it back and you're happy because yes, you did struggle to win that championship, but it's not like it was like the Warriors or like the even like the Nuggets where you're a lower seed and you're winning it all. They were the number 1 seed. They won it all. There's good. If you want to play it super safe, which by the way, Sam Presti does not need to do because he has his job security.
He did the damn 2K thing and stacked his picks. So
he could make
fine.
stupid moves the next 3 years, and I think they'd still let him keep his job.
He could make stupid moves in the next 3 years and they might still win another championship.
Yeah.
Like,
so I mean, he's like the only GM in the league, in my opinion, with that kind of.
But
Like he's gonna keep his job. No matter what.
no, absolutely. I don't think this is crazy. This is crazy to say. I don't think one championship in the next, like, let's say 5 years should be the benchmark.
No.
I think the benchmark should be, we should be trying. This is crazy. And I'm going to just say it's crazy already, but I think this is true. The benchmark should be we're trying to three-peat in the next 3 years. The NBA is weak next year already with the injuries. Celtics are not going to be a threat out of the East. That's huge. So if you can get out of the West, you are the far and away favorites to win the championship.
Yeah. I think no matter what, there's no way the East team wins the championship next year.
And then the next year after that, I know it's hard, but that core is more seasoned. Shea and J-Dub and Chet should be better by then. I mean,
yeah,
that's the thing. This, with where the NBA is at and with where this team is at, you should be saying our goal, our lofty expectation, and if you win 2 championships in the next 3 years, that's still great. You should be pushing for a three-peat.
All right, cool. I thought of another little game. So let's play it.
Yeah.
It's going to sound... Okay, hold on. If the Thunder only win 1 championship in the Shea era, what do you think of them?
I think they wasted their potential. If this is the only championship they win...
Is that a failure?
Yes. A failure based on talent. Not a failure in the sense of like they won their first championship in franchise history. You know what I mean? So don't bring up Seattle. They don't like that. They don't like it when you do that.
I don't. I think that's stupid. Yeah.
Stop. Jeff Van Gundy.
Stop comparing. Yeah.
But no, I do think it's a failure. I think, and it's crazy to say that. It's not a failure in the overall sense. I won't look at the team as a failure, but when I look at the talent of that team and go what they could have done, yeah. I'd say you failed to capitalize on your talent.
I'll think of the Thunder as a failure, not the 2025 Thunder, but just the Thunder entirely.
Yes.
One championship, I don't know.
You have a perfect situation. You have so many picks. I mean, and the reason they're in this perfect situation is because they did get a little lucky with the Paul George trade.
Yeah.
Let's not. I mean, they drafted J-Dub. Great scouting on their part. No one knew Shea was going to be this good.
No.
The fact that a player, let's just say it at this point, a player better than Paul George got included in a trade for Paul George where they also got like 5 first-round picks.
And then like 3 swaps.
Yeah, and 3 swaps. I mean, it is insane.
Yeah.
So that trade in and of itself, off that trade, they have so much capital to work with. They have the best team in the NBA right now. They have the best roster in the NBA right now. They have 1,000 first-round picks. They have every asset in the book to work with. If you only win one championship out of that, that is a tremendous failure from this point forward. That's what I'm saying. From this point forward, if you don't win another championship, that's a failure.
Okay.
So,
if the Thunder win 2 championships in the Shea era,
it's not a failure, but it's disappointing.
you think it's disappointing?
Yeah.
I'd say it's like slightly disappointing. I feel like that's kind of
slightly.
That's met expectations in my opinion. Because
multi-time champions is the line.
Especially in this kind of decade where it's always been a different team in the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah. No, that's true. But how long's the Shea era? Is Shea on the Thunder for life?
Let's say another, how old is he, like 26, 27?
He's 25, I'm pretty sure.
Is he? No, he's not.
He might be.
Trey's like 26. I'm pretty sure Shea's older than Trey. I could be wrong about that.
Shea and Trey and all. Freaking goddamn rhyme time. Why am I looking up his full name?
I don't know.
Age. SGA, age. He's 26. He turns 27 in July. So yeah, he's older than I thought he was.
So let's say his prime is another, let's say 9 years.
Yeah, with the way he plays, I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of the CBA, there's a lot more what's the word for it?
Mm-hmm.
But like the championships, the winners are a lot more diverse.
Yeah.
Versus like the old CBA, you could actually have a dynasty. I think the Thunder will have a dynasty the next 9 years, but it's also like they will have cap problems eventually.
Yeah.
Like in the next like 3 to 4 years, they will have cap problems.
I mean, I think Chet is the casualty of those cap problems.
Yeah, because you have to pay J-Dub, and Chet will be the guy where it's like, is he consistent enough offensively where you want to pay him $50 million?
Unless he takes a huge jump.
Yeah.
In which case, if Chet takes a huge jump, then J-Dub's got to go if it comes down to cap. Because if Chet takes that jump, that's irreplicable. You can technically find another guy that does what J-Dub does. You're not finding another Chet if he like manages to become like, I don't think he'll ever be on the same tier as Wemby at the same time. Right?
Yeah.
If he gets to like where Wemby is like right now,
then yeah, the Thunder have something.
Then that's incredible. Then that's like, you should be title favorites every year. So,
okay. If they win 3 championships. Oh wait, actually, yeah. Did you give your like real answer? So you'd say
I'd say it's a little disappointing.
A little disappointing.
It's somewhere in meta expectations, but I feel like you're kind of like, damn, this team should have won more. Because I'm looking at next year and I'm like, they should win a championship next year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like, yeah, it's a little disappointing, but it's not like I'm not like saying they're a failure or anything.
No, we're not looking back like, oh, they had so much potential and they only won 2. I mean, you won 2, but it's also, I mean, yeah, you could have had more.
Yeah.
If they win 3 championships, what do you think?
I think they not exceeded expectations, but I think they're on the high end of expectations. I think they did what you could ask them to do.
Yeah, I think that's a great. Yeah. I think that's a success.
Yeah.
In the way that like what's another way we'd kind of look at it? I mean,
let's look at it.
Shaq was a success.
Yeah, and that was a 3-peat, which is why it's looked at that way. But like, yeah, that was a success. The Warriors 4 championships over their time span, so one more, a resounding success, right? The Bulls, obviously, like probably the greatest dynasty since the Bill Russell Celtics. But like, I don't know,
they won 6, so that's like the greatest dynasty win.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about the Larry Bird Celtics. 3 championships.
Oh yeah, 3 championships.
That team's looked at historically.
So
So
I'd probably put it in like top 10 for sure dynasties, like in the league.
yeah,
history.
you're great. I don't 3 championships. I got nothing to say.
Yeah,
So
4 championships.
all time. Like that gets into the territory of like, are they better than the Warriors dynasty?
Warriors dynasty, Spurs dynasty, Bulls dynasty.
And I'd give the
And
edge to the
those-
Spurs just because of how long they were good for. Like, it wasn't just the championships; it was the fact that every single year they were in like, I think what Tim Duncan was like. No, did they only make 6 finals? Yeah, they did.
Yeah, because Tim was
I thought they made
either
more
5
for
or 1 or 5 and 2.
I say only 6 finals, like yeah, but he was 5 and 1.
no 7
7?
because
Who else did they lose
he lost to LeBron. I swear he lost one earlier. Was it to the? It wasn't to the. No, the Pistons was to the Lakers.
No.
Why do I feel-
he's 5 and 1?
Is he 5 and 1? Okay.
Yeah, because yeah, he's 5 and 1.
So you think 3 is a success, 4 is like a lot more of a success, like one of
Yeah.
the best dynasties, and then I think 5 is when you get into undebatably top 3 dynasty ever. Of
Yeah.
being between the Bulls.
Well, it depends on how long it takes him to win 5. Because
Yeah.
the Showtime Lakers also won 5.
They did. Also, technically, Kobe won within like 10 years. Kobe won 5. didn't
Yeah,
he? Or maybe that's like
11
years.
within
Yeah.
11 years. So
And obviously, like you have to
it
technically
depends
count
how
the
much
Celtics
like it's yeah.
with Bill Russell. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it's like, how much does the team change over that period of time? Is it still the same era? Is it just the Shea era? Is it like, you know what I mean? Because like, yeah, we consider the Warriors to be one complete dynasty. They're 4 championships, but they were vastly different. Yet the first championship was vastly different than the next 2, which was vastly different than the last one, right?
Yeah. I'd even say the first 3 were way more similar. Like I know, like obviously
Yeah.
15 and 17, 18 were different,
Yeah.
but like 22 is actually like in this random universe of its own. Like,
Yeah, it's like
if
if they were to win a championship next year, it would feel kind of the same way.
yeah,
You like it. You would lump it in because it's the Steph Curry era, but it doesn't feel like the same like team or anything like that.
Right.
It's not like the Bulls who had like basically the same core of guys. Well, not the same actually, but Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen.
yeah.
You know, Steph
So-
winning like a championship without like Clay and like it just feels a little weird, you know,
Yeah.
and calling it the same team. But anyway,
And how about this? You give Shea 10 years. How many championships does it take for him to have the greatest dynasty of all time?
the greatest dynasty of all time.
So you're better than Bill Russell, which by the way, Bill Russell's was impressive, but there were like half the teams.
Bill Russell's just the weird caveat, like where it's like you got to give him his due credit, but
But even that there was like 15 teams or like 18
there was like
teams.
2 rounds of the playoffs, 4 teams made the playoffs. There was
Yeah.
like 8 teams at one, or like 10 teams or 12, whatever. Like
Like as long as
Bill
you have,
Russell
like-
was great,
Yeah.
but there's a reason he's not like the best player of all time. And no one-
So you'd probably give it to. So I guess technically there's the Kobe Lakers because I
in
don't know,
10
like,
years,
we're saying
Yep.
10 years. So there's Kobe Lakers, Magic Lakers,
yep,
and then
The Jordan Bulls.
Jordan Bulls, and,
And-
then tech
7 championships.
7.
He's got to win 7 in 10 years
Yeah, I could see that.
because Jordan won.
Jordan won 6.
I mean, Jordan won 6 in 8 years.
Yeah.
Like
So I mean, but if I don't know, because like Shea obviously,
Jordan won 6 in 8 years, and he was retired for one of those years, and then came back halfway through one of those seasons, right?
yeah, so he only played.
So he won 6
6 and a half.
6 championships in 6.5 years. That's insane,
Yeah,
dude.
that's actually never gonna be beat.
No, it actually might not. I mean, like unless the Thunder go on some crazy run.
Yeah, I do think actually, if Shea wins 5 championships, it's better than either Lakers one, because when you think about
Yeah.
Magic Johnson, like he won that Finals MVP in that first year, and like it was super important that he played center in that final game, but he wasn't as good. He wasn't an MVP type player. Same thing with Kobe in those first 2 championships.
Yeah, I mean, Shea winning 5 championships as the best player on the team is like there's only a couple guys really that have won that many championships as the definitive best player on the team, and that's Jordan, LeBron.
Well, he didn't win 5.
I know, but he won 4 as the
4,
definitive, and that's like the next closest thing because Kobe was not better than Shaq for those first 3. Kareem and Magic kind of went back and forth a little bit.
It might be them too.
Yeah,
It's just Kobe. Or not the Kobe.
it might just be
and LeBron.
Jordan and LeBron.
Yeah. Because I don't know about Bill Russell. I couldn't tell you who was.
Yeah.
I mean, he probably seemed like the best player, but maybe depended on the final series. I have no idea. Because did they even give out Finals MVP in those years? I don't think they did.
Well, it's the Bill Russell Finals MVP, so.
But I don't think it's because he won it. I think it's because he won.
I know. I'm saying I think they. When did the Finals MVP become a thing? Sorry, y'all got to keep looking at my Orioles logo. I'm not sorry.
Yeah.
Someone's got to look at it other than me.
Because no one else is looking.
Oh God.
I'm a Braves fan. It's like it's not as bad, but it's still pretty bad. But yeah, that's pretty much.
I mean, I could say something about the Pacers. Or were you just saying that's pretty
Oh,
much
I
it
was just
for
saying that's
Thunder?
pretty much it for that. Yeah, that like little segment thing.
Yeah, this might be a 2-hour pod.
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah.
But I think actually before we get to the Pacers, we can talk about who are some players you would like for OKC to trade for when it comes to Dort and Hartenstein. Not like you don't have to worry about where Dort and Hartenstein go, how they fit, but like what are some players they should be targeting? It was 1969.
Bill Russell never got one.
No.
So I guess he's a bum. He never got a Finals MVP.
But Shea has won.
And Shea has won. He's better than Bill Russell.
Oh.
All right.
Because like I guess this is something.
Well, you're asking me a lot of questions. I feel like you've done a little bit more research about the Thunder, so I'll actually let you go on this.
I'm
Like,
not gonna lie, this is one of the things I didn't think about.
You haven't thought of-
until the pod
So-
started. I mean, like,
Yeah.
okay, part of me does think. I personally do think John Collins would be a very good fit. I think he is a versatile player. I think he had a couple years. I mean, I'm a Hawks fan. His last couple years in Atlanta, he couldn't shoot because of his finger injury, but he showed this year on the Jazz that he's still a 38%, if not more, 3-point shooter. He's arguably the best player for the Jazz. I think he can play either the 4 or 5, kind of like Hartenstein. But and like maybe the defense isn't as good. I just still see him as an elite pick and roll guy.
Yeah.
And as great as Shea is at isoing, I don't think you want him doing that the entire playoff long. And
No.
John Collins is like one of the best pick and roll bigs you can ever have offensively. Or not ever have, sorry, but right now in the NBA.
not that this is like a dream thing or whatever, but like in terms of what you're gonna have to give up to get him, go get Dalton Connect for a bag of chips. Like
I don't know because will Mark play him? Because he's not a good defender.
yeah, but when you talk about like what the Thunder need,
They
need an offensive spark off the bench.
Okay, I understand that. But
And you play him around these other guys. You wouldn't even, that's the thing. If you really wanted to, you wouldn't even probably have to give up Dort. The Lakers have no picks. Just be like, take 3 first-round picks. Have them. I'm not going to use them. You take them. And go get Dalton Connect.
You're crazy. 3 first-round picks for
They don't need them. They don't. 2 first-round picks. 1 first-round pick. However, whatever.
I'd give up like 1. Connect
It doesn't matter how many they get. If you're the Thunder, it doesn't matter how many first-round picks you give up.
I understand the Lakers didn't necessarily need a shooter, but he was a DNP in the playoffs.
Yeah, because the Lakers don't have good defenders.
Right, but I still don't even think just talent like you in order to play playoff minutes, you need to be a good defender.
Yeah, or you need to be an incredible offensive option.
Is he an incredible offensive option?
I think he could be.
I personally think the Thunder have too many assets to even take that risk where they can secure a guy who they know is going to get minutes.
Okay, so
Would
then
you rather have him or a guy like I understand like the pay is different, salary is different.
Yeah.
Him or a guy like Cam Johnson.
Oh, I'd rather have Cam Johnson.
So that's why like maybe a different team would take like the Hornets where they don't have that many assets. They'd be like, okay, maybe Connect can turn out. I think the Thunder can play it super safe.
Yeah.
And get a guy like
No, that's
him.
true.
Which,
So
by the way, I guess that it should be a second guy that I'm including. I think.
So yeah, I'd 100% go Cam Johnson.
He's obviously good. They can technically go a guy like Claxton, but I think it's kind of the same thing as Hartenstein. Also, Claxton's a 50% free throw shooter.
Yeah, I just wouldn't go Claxton, honestly. And that's another problem is the Thunder, their free throw shooting was a little bit suspect to the playoffs outside of Shea. So,
You guys say like J-Dub and Chet were not amazing from free throw line.
yeah.
I'm trying to think of some other guys.
Who else?
They just need guys who, for sure will play. They can make their open shots.
Who's selling right? Jordan Poole.
That's actually a pretty good option.
Jordan Poole. Yeah.
I feel like you could get Jordan Poole to buy in defensively.
I know you can get him to buy in defensively because he did with the Warriors.
I mean, he did with the Warriors, but I still wouldn't say he's like a good defense. I think he could be a good
No, but like if you talk about Isaiah Joe, he's Isaiah Joe on steroids. He will swarm and he will play aggressive. He's just not like a great defender.
Yeah.
But like he will play aggressive if he's given the incentive, but he's played in Washington the last 2 years. When he was on the Warriors, he was an aggressive defender. Was he a great defender? No, but he tried his ass off.
Yeah.
So
I think
Jordan
they do
Poole.
definitely have the assets to get Jordan Poole.
Jordan Poole.
And spare some assets for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think Jordan Poole is going for that much right now. I think he ended the year really good last year, but or this year,
Yeah.
whatever it is. But that start was so brutal that man,
Yeah.
I think I dropped him in fantasy for a while.
No, trade that 15th pick this year.
Yeah.
And something else and get Jordan Poole.
I really don't think there's that many players at 15 that like are actually going to really contribute. Like I understand it's a strong class compared to last year, but last year had a bunch of like the top end talent and potential is heavy this year, but last year had a lot of just good, like really good role players.
The only thing I could see them going for is like if there was some sort of high potential big at 15.
Which
But
the only one I
like,
can think of is Derek Queen.
is he gonna last to 15?
People have been saying, dude, he's been falling. So
Well,
I don't know,
the
out of
Hawks should
15,
take him then.
I actually would like that.
Yeah.
So I think there's a good chance he falls past 9, but I don't know if he'll get to 15.
15 is just a long way to fall.
So maybe even trade up because obviously they have the assets.
Yeah,
Trade
you could, but
up. Or obviously trade up for the Duke guy, Mulaj.
you just get who fits your timeline, and I feel like Jordan Poole and Cam Johnson are guys that fit your timeline.
Yeah.
And yeah, the more I think about it, like Dolan Connect is not a guy who he doesn't fit their timeline in terms of what he's shown.
You think? Well, Don Connect's 23. Oh, yeah. In terms of what he's shown, yeah, I agree with that.
Because, like, if you're saying, like, okay, because I guess from my perspective, I feel like he is going to still get better. But, like,
Personally, I think he's a guy he is who he is.
he might be.
But
But
I think he'll be a good player. It's just you don't, if you're OKC, you don't know that.
right. And you want to take sure bets. No, I think a guy like that, I think.
And who's a team that's like, dude, honestly, okay, no, this sounds stupid, but like, if they could go get Anthony Simons off that bench. Dude, that'd be 6th man of the year easily, bro.
Yeah.
Dude, like, how much do the Blazers really value Simons?
But here's my thing. If you want to go
Jeremy Grant.
Simons versus Jordan Poole,
Yeah,
you know Jordan Poole can buy into a championship mentality
because he's done it.
and playing defense because he's done it. Anthony Simons, you'd have no idea because he's playing on the Blazers. You know, he might be able to and he might not be able to, but they're so close talent-wise that I feel like you just go get Jordan Poole.
Right.
Plus, he's probably easier to get from the Wizards. Because when the Wizards traded for him, they were like, oh, this could be like our cornerstone guy. But I don't think they look at him like that anymore.
No, especially because they have a good couple guard prospects. They have the 6th.
Yeah, they got AJ Johnson. They got Bub Carrington. They've got which one am I missing?
I mean, I guess that's the 2. Well, Jordan Poole's the 3rd one.
Well, Jordan Poole. I feel like I'm missing another young one. But they also have Sarr.
They have Marcus Smart, if you want us to call him young. Nope.
Hey, you know what?
Oh, they have Brogdon too, don't they? Dude, they have a lot of old cards.
I'm not even joking. Marcus Smart's another guy you could just go get for a bag of chips that could fit that. Like, just go scalp the Wizards real quick. Just take every good guard they have over the age of like 24.
Honestly, yeah, either Brogdon or Smart. Good fits.
Yeah.
Also,
Brogdon's on the Wizards, right?
Yeah, he should be. I'm pretty sure he is.
Just go take all 3 of those guys. 1st round pick for each of them and just take them.
Just build a Wizards guard unit outside of Shea. And then obviously, I do think Jeremy Grant would still like. Obviously, he looks terrible when he's on a bad team, but I think when he is on a good team, he's a good player. It's just for some reason he loves getting paid 25. Okay, actually not for some reason. He loves getting paid 25 million a year to suck.
Yeah,
like, that's
I would love. I'd love that too.
I'd be the same way.
I'd do the same thing.
I definitely value the money over it.
But my only thing about Jeremy Grant is the same thing as Anthony Simons. Is like we've never seen him perform that way in a winning situation. So is he going to?
Jeremy Grant?
When did he perform that way in a winning situation?
He played on the what really good was it? Was it the Nuggets when they in the bubble when they made the conference finals?
It might have been.
He was a good player.
He was on the Sixers early in his career.
He was also on the Thunder already.
Was on the Thunder. Was on the
I think
the Nuggets.
Yeah, that was where he played the best.
I mean, yeah, he's like
because he was seen as a good defender then. I don't know how good of a defender would he be now on a championship? I think it'd be worse, but maybe still good.
I feel like he gives OKC something they do lack in their bench unit though, which is length.
Yeah, but also he does not give rebounding. That is also an issue.
And they do need rebounding.
Yeah.
But none of these other guys we're talking about are giving them rebounding either.
Another player I'm thinking is like maybe a Harrison Barnes, you know? I mean,
it's like solid. It's like solid. It just doesn't move me, really.
Yeah. And it's like, it is a weird, all of a sudden it's a random older dude.
You know what's funny? You know that whole phrase, like people paraphrase that thing, master of all or jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
You know it's paraphrased and it means the exact opposite, like the whole saying, because the whole saying is jack of all trades, master of none, better than master of one.
Oh.
So basically the whole phrase, the whole saying is like, it's better to be a jack of all trades than a master of one trade and nothing else.
I mean, that is kind of true, especially in the playoffs. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Duncan Robinson,
I'd
not get minutes.
Unless it's 2020.
Yeah, unless then all of a sudden you're randomly playing. Or 2023 when they made the finals, and then he gets paid $20 million again.
So no, but that means Duncan Robinson is the catalyst for them making the finals. He as Duncan Robinson goes, the Miami Heat go.
Yeah, you know, start playing him.
Yeah, better start playing him.
And then I had another. Oh, well, I mean, Lauri Markkanen. Like honestly.
Oh yeah,
they could easily get.
I don't even know. Yeah. No, exact. He's not like a great rebounder, but.
No,
for what the Jazz would probably give him up for.
Also, he makes a lot of money, but at the same time, it is like he probably makes like
40 Kessler.
40 million a year. Kessler
if you could get him, like, because I don't know how the Jazz look at him. Honestly, I don't know if they look at him as like this great young center prospect or if he's like spare goods.
I think it'd be a great bench big, but like I wouldn't like him and Chet starting together. Like that'd be
no. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like if you want to commit to like, okay, Chet's our center moving forward. Walker Kessler is a great bench big.
Yeah. And the only problem with that is like you are kind of now like Jalen Williams when he got minutes was actually a pretty good big off the bench. He had
oh my god, yeah, they have Jalen Williams too. I can't believe because they have the other Jalen Williams.
Well, I was thinking of
I like forgot about that.
I was thinking about it at the time, but like he wasn't in that top 9 in the playoffs.
No, he wasn't. But it's another guy that like.
No, they have so many assets. Yeah, they have so much talent.
They really. This just confirms like if they don't win 3 championships, even more. The more I like look at it, I'm like, you have so many assets. I actually think it's like I'm even moving further down the disappointment line where it's like if they win 2 championships, it's a disappointment.
Yeah, there's a reason that I know they have so many assets. That's why I can't hate watch them. Like I already like Chet, but like my final hate watch I think was the Nuggets in 2023 when they won the championship. After I rooted against them every single series, I realized I'm never gonna hate again. I'm just done with it because when it doesn't work out, it sucks.
I think this did that to me, yeah. Dude. Especially because we'll get to Indiana later, but I was actually like, I'm not even an Indiana fan. I didn't even like love watching them that much in the regular season. I wasn't like someone who watched Indiana.
No,
dude, I was heartbroken, and it wasn't even because of like hate watching. It was just because like. Dude, that was heartbreaking.
It was so heartbreaking.
That was like gut wrenching to watch. I know I said it later. That actually sucked the energy out of the hangout. We had been like hanging out. We had like hooped. We had like gotten food. We were so excited. We were going to go out to like some bars or something. Done. 3 threes. Night was over as soon as Halliburton went out of the game. I'm not even joking. It just sucked the energy out of the room.
No, yeah, it was. No one like we still cared about the game because it was close up until the third quarter.
Yeah,
but it was like when the Pacers were down 2, it felt like they were down 10.
Yeah, there was this underlying belief that like
when the Thunder
Pacers aren't winning this.
Yeah, when the Thunder up 3, it was like the game was over. Like
like
it felt like a blowout. It felt like the Thunder were blowing them out, and they were.
It did. Like I remember looking at the score at halftime, like Indiana's up. But like, yeah, dude, it just felt like when that third quarter started, it's like, okay, the inevitable finally happened.
Yeah. All right, so I feel like that's a lot of Thunder talk.
That's a lot of Pacers. Yeah, let's get into them.
Man, I super successful season, but I'm not gonna lie. Like, okay, so this Pacers run will go down in the storybooks as like, yeah, the most heartbreaking loss of a playoff run ever when it comes to just an underdog. That's the closest an underdog's really gotten without winning it. Because like, there's been underdogs to really win it.
Yeah.
But when's the last time an underdog went, Game 7, and then had an injury that truly killed them?
I don't know. I think the Knicks made the finals as an 8th seed one year.
But I feel like they lost in like 5 games.
But they might have lost in like 5 games. Yeah. So
like this is the most heartbreaking loss ever.
Yeah.
Especially because it wasn't because of how bad they were. They were winning at the time when the injury went down. Obviously, only 5 minutes into the game, 7 minutes into the game, but they were winning at the time. Halliburton was the one on fire. He was the reason that they were winning.
Yeah,
just hitting ridiculous threes, and
he looked like he was gonna have the game of his career.
Yeah, He was screaming going into the timeouts, like hype, and it's heartbreaking. But one thing I will say, even though it's heartbreaking, we'll remember this forever. Everyone will love this run.
Yep.
If you don't win it all, it obviously doesn't mean as much as a first round exit, obviously, right? But like, if you don't win it all, then it means nothing,
Unless you are a team like this. Like, people will remember the 2023 Heat.
Yeah.
And people will remember the 2020 Heat, and people will remember the, I think it was the 1999 Knicks.
Yeah.
People remember those teams.
People remember it, but I still think it's like...
It's not the same as, like, 2011 Mavs, though. But that's also, like, looked at as the... We talked about it. That was, like, even though the finals of the 2016 finals was better, 2011 we said was, like, the greatest ring of that time period.
Yeah.
And it might be one of the greatest rings of all time. So it's like, yeah, it's not remembered, but if you win it, it's like one of the greatest rings ever. So even if you don't win it, it's still pretty impressive.
If you don't win, it's still pretty impressive. But also, do the Pacers go in? Okay, let's say Haliburton didn't get hurt, right?
Yeah.
If the Pacers go into the offseason thinking we were that close, now next year we really take advantage, or that was their chance. Like that's the problem.
No, I think
just like with the Heat.
I think you go into the offseason thinking we were that close, because they actually were. It wasn't like they were the 8th seed and had this like great playoff run. They were the second best team in the NBA from January 1st onward.
I agree. I still think a lot of things went their way. I think a lot of injuries went their way.
You're right.
Up until the finals with Haliburton got hurt.
Which, speaking of injuries, that's exactly why you run it back next year and try to like think like we have a chance to win a championship. Boston's out. Milwaukee's out.
And this isn't the scenario that Haliburton didn't get hurt. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. If Haliburton doesn't get... Obviously, Haliburton getting hurt,
all that.
It completely changes everything.
And yeah, I still do think... I think we talked about it before. It's... The Pacers are evil. Well, we didn't say that before, but I think the Pacers are genuinely evil in the fact that, like, they knew that they were risking Haliburton's his entire health playing him in this Game 7 because they traded for their own pick back next year. No team that makes the finals and forces 6, because at the time, I think they were up 3-2, or they're down 3-2, 1-2. And they traded for their own first-round pick back for the 23rd, and they traded away the 23rd pick, which is like...
If you make the finals, you don't think you're getting, like, better than the 23rd pick the next year.
Right. You would expect to be a top 3 or 4 seed.
Yeah.
If you just made the finals.
Yeah.
So, I just think it's really unfortunate. Yeah. Apparently, Dame, Tatum, and Haliburton all had that. Is it a calf strain or what is the injury called that they all had right before the Achilles?
I don't know exactly, but I know they were calling Tyrese as a calf strain.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure all 3 had a calf strain before, and apparently calf strains really do lead up to Achilles.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense. The same thing KD had.
Oh yeah, Kevin Durant also had that exact same sequence happen.
Guarantee Kobe had that shit too. I mean, he was playing 42 minutes a night at like 34 years old, 33 years old, like trying to carry that Lakers team. So
yeah, he was definitely probably going through the same thing and just didn't say anything. Because I mean, at the end of the day, like Tyrese Haliburton, it probably was up to Haliburton, and he was, he even said in the interview, it's Game 7. If I can go out there and play, I will. Obviously, he lived to regret that. But what do you think? Do you think that players should have that power to say yes or no? Or do you think doctors should literally stop them from playing?
I'm not an NBA player. I don't claim to be. I don't claim to have competed at that level.
Breaking news.
But I'll still bust your ass. Anyway. If it was me in that position, obviously I don't go into it knowing that I'm going to tear my Achilles.
Right.
But I'm playing Game 7. And I feel like, yeah, Tyrese is going to regret missing a lot of next year. And he's going to regret, probably missing all of next year. He's going to regret getting hurt. But he regrets getting hurt because he couldn't play in Game 7.
Yeah.
That's why he was so devastated. And if you make that decision from the get-go, I mean, you can't. Aaron Gordon played Game 7 of the Western Conference semifinals with a grade 2 hamstring. Hamstring strain. I did this the last time we talked about it, too.
Yeah.
Hamstring string.
Hamstring.
String. No, like, you play. I don't think there's anything else you can do. I
Right.
think even as I know you're saying players shouldn't have that power, but I think it's more devastating for the player
No, but
to like.
and
you know.
I agree with you. Yeah. I definitely think that. Yeah, I don't think Halliburton regrets his decision. He
Yeah.
obviously regrets what happened. Like,
I think players should absolutely have that power because I think it's worse for them to miss that game 7 than it is for them to get injured, even on a personal level.
okay, so that's what I was asking. I'm not gonna lie. When it comes to something like this, and after Dame and Tatum did it,
Yeah.
because okay, obviously, like I think doctors kind of should have that power to say, hey, you are going to hurt yourself if you play in this game.
I don't think Dame should have played. That's the one I will say.
Because you think I guess the stakes are
The
pretty
Bucks
low
were
in the first
done.
round.
The Bucks were done already. Let's be honest. The Bucks were not winning that series.
When did it? I feel like it was only 2-1 when it happened, though. Was it?
Yeah, but the Pacers were already up in that game.
Yeah, they were.
Like, I don't know.
If
And
they're already up in that game, do what? All of a sudden, you just pull them?
no. I'm just saying Dame should have never been brought back for that series.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, and obviously the Pacers ended up doing what the Pacers ended up doing, but if you're the Bucks and you're like, we can't beat a 5th seed with home court advantage, why are we rushing this guy back from injury?
Yeah.
You know, Tatum is different because I feel like in that circumstance, you're down 2-1 in the conference semifinals. You won a championship last year. You know, if you get through the Knicks, at that point, they knew they had Indiana waiting on the other side, probably.
Yeah.
Most
And
likely.
in their
so.
eyes, you beat Indiana, even if we clearly see Indiana's
Yeah.
a way better team than people thought.
Yeah. So I think Tatum playing, I agree with. I think Tyrese Halliburton playing, I absolutely agree with. But no, Dame should have been held out, I think.
Yeah. It really is a bummer because, yeah, the doctors probably knew him playing. It's like he's going to hurt himself.
And yeah, I mean, if it's like I don't know. You say the Pacers are evil. It's like if Tyrese made that decision and told them, no, I'm playing, then they just did that as a backup plan. It's not like they necessarily I think everyone had all the knowledge in that circumstance. I think Tyrese just made a decision, and then the Pacers front office made a decision. They're like, if we get fucked sideways, we need a backup plan, right?
And I mean, clearly, Halburn did not want to face the repercussion of not playing that game. And one, the Pacers losing, and two, he's obviously a competitor, and three, what fans would say if Halburn decided I'm gonna sit out after him being able to walk and stuff, like that's just something that you never see. You never see a player miss out on a game 7 because they could get hurt.
And this is just
unfortunate that
it's just how it's an unfortunate part of sports, and it's said all the time, but injuries, it just happens. And it happens at random sometimes, and sometimes it happens with cause, but I don't know. I think any of these guys, I think almost anybody in the NBA would have made the same decision.
Yeah. So what do the Pacers do next? I mean, clearly, like, I think they're still a good team, but I'm not gonna lie. Like, if I had to make a super early prediction, they might be like a 5-6 seed max.
Yeah.
If that. Like, honestly,
And they're in the
could be a
East too,
play-in team.
and they're in the East too. So I mean, I think 5-6 seed is about where they fall, but yeah,
Like, where do you? I mean, you have your own pick. That's good, right?
do you wait to run it back with Tyrese in 2026, 27?
26, 27. Yeah.
Who's
because-
on contract even that long? Like, I think Siakam signed an extension.
Yeah, look that up for me. I just think it's personally my opinion. I don't think this run was a fluke. However, I'd personally say, yeah, you're gonna wait 2 years for another official run with your superstar. It's like this team isn't that good to wait. The Celtics now, yes, they have cap problems, but the Celtics wouldn't even wait that long. I have a feeling the Celtics will kind of break things apart a little bit.
I mean, this is why I also want to like point out, like, I don't feel like it's a fluke, because if you look at the teams, top 5 records since January 1st of this past year, Thunder were 41-9, Celtics 37-12, Cavs 35-14, Pacers 34-14, Warriors 32-18. So the 4 of those 5 teams going into the playoffs were looked at as like title contenders.
Yeah.
And the Pacers certainly were in that category, and like that's after a bad start to the season. So
I mean, I'd still like. I like that point. Don't get me wrong. Also, but including playoff games in that is kind of like, well, yeah. The playoffs is they're kind of saying that's the fluky.
Yeah,
part, you know.
No, I get that. I'm just saying, like,
They're still a good team since that.
I think they have like a good team, but okay. So let's see who's going to be on contract. So Siakam, Halliburton, Nembhard, Toppin, Nesmith, McConnell, Jarris Walker, Ben Shepherd, Johnny Furphy.
That's a good amount of guys.
That is actually a good amount of guys. Miles Turner, not on contract. Mathurin, not on contract. I'm just kind of looking at the main contributors. Thomas Bryant, not on contract. Tony Bradley, not on contract. And those are guys that I'm saying are main contributors because they got minutes in the finals.
Yeah.
But
so it mainly is just Miles Turner, Benedict Mathurin, I'd say.
Yeah, and maybe Thomas Bryant if you want to throw him in there. But he's
mean,
off contract after this year anyway.
So Miles Turner is a free agent this year.
Yeah, Miles Turner is a free agent this year.
I feel like you bring Miles Turner back. Eventually, when it comes to Mathurin, you might want to...
I think you sign and trade Mathurin.
But then again, also... Okay, yeah, maybe next... But like this year is actually going to be a good year for Mathurin to grow as he will have way more responsibility.
So it actually depends because you can go over the cap to sign him because they have restricted free agent rights on him.
Right.
So
do you want to wait 2 more years? How old is TJ McConnell in 2 years?
TJ McConnell is...
How old is he right now?
33.
So he'll be 35.
30.
You don't.
Is he going to be... I mean, yeah, he'll be 30. I don't know what I'm saying. Yeah.
Real quick. Tell me his birthday.
Well, it doesn't matter because in like 2 years from now would be the finals of like 26, 27. So he's going to be 35 in 2 years anyway. That's why I was like, I don't know why I'm looking at it. But so yeah, Pascal Siakam's going to be 33. Halliburton's going to be 27. Nemhard's going to be 27. Toppin 29. Neesmith 27. McConnell 35.
So you know what? I think that
the clock's ticking on him a little bit.
It is a little bit, but I'm not going to... This year might be a good year for everyone else to develop and grow while Halliburton's out. Because people love Andrew Nemhard, and he had some very timely shots in these playoffs. Yeah. But we've still never seen him with an actual offensive load. Like that dude can have a 6-point game and no one will say anything. No one cares. But because some games he'll have like 18, all of a sudden, oh, he could be a lead guard on this many team. Like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't take as many shots. He doesn't have as much offensive responsibilities as everyone else.
So let's hypothetically, they keep all the guys that they've got under contract, including McConnell, and they re-sign Benedict Mathurin when Tyrese comes back in 26-27. You need a center. So they need to figure out a way to get a center next year at some point of the year.
Or they could keep Miles Turner also.
I gotta be honest. I think out of all the pieces, I'd rather him gone. He did not look good in that Game 7 at all.
He didn't, but he looked good up until the finals, in my opinion.
He did.
That's 3 different series versus 1.
No, you're right. I mean...
You keep Miles Turner. He was great shooting the ball.
If you can keep him for value. If he wants $30 million, then... I don't know about
give him $30 million.
I don't know about all that.
I mean, how many better centers are on the market? You're gonna have to trade. You're gonna have to draft one. I don't think they have a draft pick this year because they just traded theirs.
Well, who are the 2026 free agents?
And by the way, any of these free agents could just be re-signing in this offseason. You know,
they could. I mean, we'll see if Luka does because he's a free agent in 2026.
Oh, the Pacers might get him.
LeBron's a free agent.
Oh, a center.
Dame's a free. Is Dame a free? Yeah, Dame's a free because he's making. No, he's not a free. What is this telling me? Because he's got a player option. That's why it's saying he's a free agent because he's got a player option. Who's unrestricted?
Is Blue
Ayton?
Oh, that's unrestricted. So Ayton actually has been in Pacer talks for like years. Actually.
Years.
I'm pretty sure he was supposed to sign there, and then all of a sudden he got traded. Or so I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember what happened, but.
I mean, yeah, how many of these centers...
There's not a lot. You're right.
Do you want to rely on? I think they bring back Miles Turner. They let players develop, and maybe they make a run. I mean, because, then again, how many players did you say would be 30? So, I guess Siakam would be in his 30s?
Turner would be 31. Siakam is in his 30s, so he'd be 33. And McConnell would be 35. That's it.
Which, I mean, I'd assume McConnell's out of the rotation now at 35 years old. I could be wrong. But,
with the way he plays, he might not be.
Yeah, he's not... Well, he plays fast.
He plays fast, but he doesn't play high, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so there's not as much risk for, like, any sort of jumping injury, which is pretty common. Yeah. So I guess only 3 guys in their 40 or in their 30s.
I don't mind them running it back, honestly, because how do you get better if you're the Pacers than this year? You don't have the assets to trade for some sort of star. You're not a destination.
No.
I think the best case scenario is run it back in 26-27, and then after that, if it doesn't work, then you really it does suck because it does mess up their timeline. Yeah. Because this next year would have been the year they should be really good. You know, Neesmith, Nemhard, those guys coming in their own. But
yeah, I think okay. What do you think? Because I don't even know my opinion on this. If the Pacers were like the 10 seed at the trade deadline, are you just keeping it like that and being like, you know what, that's a better pick for us for
Yeah.
next year?
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe even take a little bit.
Yeah, Siakam has a lower right glute contusional strain, and he's out for the season.
Hey, dude, maybe they get Cam Boozer. That's a center. Cameron Boozer. Dude, he's...
Next draft has some really good prospects, so I would not be mad at them tanking.
Yeah. At least for sure one thing. At least at the deadline.
Just like, yeah. That's the thing, is you could retool for when Halliburton's back. I want to ask you a question, though. Just because I feel like we kind of are on the same page of like what the Pacers are going to do in the offseason and next season and all that. This Halliburton injury, where would you rank it in terms of worst injuries of all time in NBA history?
Like, I guess, what, the timeliness of it happening?
All of it. The timeliness, the severity.
I mean, I'm trying to think of, because obviously an injury of a champion can't really happen because they won the championship, right?
Yeah.
So injuries that happen in the playoffs that really hurt, because obviously, you know, like one like Bogut getting hurt, you know, like back in 2016, right? That doesn't matter. And in the grand scheme, like, not only is he not as good of a player, but it was a couple games.
Yeah.
I guess technically Halbert was a couple games, but the injury is going to be for, you know. Dude, like at top of my head, I can't think of anything besides obvious, like some picks like Kyrie Irving getting hurt.
Yeah.
Kyrie getting hurt on the Nets legitimately ruined their championship odds. Where I think they would have easily won it.
Yeah.
But then again, Halbert was way closer, and the injury was way worse.
Yep.
So, what do you think, dude?
So that's why I ask.
In my head, it's just like the worst of all time.
That's what I was getting at. I was thinking about it today. I really like. I was thinking about all of it, the context, the injury, everything, like the way I felt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The way I felt watching it happen, there was just something so heartbreaking about it. I think it's the worst injury I've ever seen in NBA history in my lifetime. And I obviously never watched the NBA pre like 2007, 2008. This is worse than Kobe's.
I never thought of it, but now that you're saying it, no, this is the worst injury
I think this might be the worst injury in NBA history.
When it comes to a player being so close to winning the championship and
playing good in the game too.
Yeah. Having the first 9 of 15 points or whatever it was, like this, like there's actually been nothing more heartbreaking.
I think it's the worst injury in NBA history. And that's how this run is going to go down.
Man, that's sad.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I was like,
because
I can't think of I can't. Like, the only time I've ever felt like that as a sports fan was when I was watching my own team and, you know, Raiders fan back in 2016 when Derek Carr broke his leg is the only other time I can think like, oh my God, what am I watching? Yeah. And that was because that was my team. We weren't in the Super Bowl. We weren't even in the playoffs. We were just good for the first time ever in my lifetime. Yeah. And it's like, you got to be kidding me. Our MVP candidate quarterback just broke his leg.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's just on a personal level. I don't have a personal attachment to the Pacers, and I felt the same way.
Yeah. No, like we all went silent and we're just so disappointed when it happened. That It's the worst injury ever. I think
it is. I think it's the worst injury in NBA history.
Man, that'd be such a good YouTube title. Dude, when I talk about this in a year from now, oh my gosh, that would blow up.
The worst injury in NBA history. Except you spoiled it now.
Oh dang, someone's gonna
cut this out.
Someone's gonna take this idea. But yeah, man, that's just such. But yeah, shout out the Pacers. Obviously, beating a 1 seed, beating a 3 seed, beating a 5 seed, like that kind of combination leading up to the finals.
Yeah,
might be one of. Well, it's not one of because the Heat did the same thing, beating the 1 seed. But yeah, it's heartbreaking. I still do think, even though I guess I kind of agree with you that yeah, they should run it back in 2 years. It is. I still think this was their only chance.
I think so too, because if you want to talk about what their next best chance was going to be, it was going to be next year. And I mean, you never know what happens the year after that. You never know what teams look like. But man, Indy just had something this year, and I don't know how often you find something like that.
Yeah,
you know,
you don't. All right, cool. That was an hour and 34 minutes.
Wow.
So far of recording.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's take a little break and we'll be back with Kevin Durant to the Rockets and then a mock draft.
Welcome back to the Talk Yours podcast. And if you thought you had a chance to breathe before the NBA Finals was over, you're absolutely wrong. Yesterday, Kevin Durant was traded to the Houston Rockets for Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, 5 second-round picks, and a first, I believe.
The 10th pick in the draft.
The 10th pick in the draft. I think let's just get right into it. Let's just start with Houston. Does this make them a contender against Oklahoma City in the West, in your opinion? Because, I mean, it's Kevin Durant, man.
Yeah.
And they just added him to the second best team record-wise in the Western Conference during the regular season.
I mean, yes. I mean, I think he's a top 8 player in the league, and he's easily by far the best player on this team versus before.
Mm-hmm. Certain Norwegians won't like that.
No. Some people won't like that. And but look, I don't think the Rockets are done yet. Like, I still think they have a couple different moves they need to make because at the end of the day, Jalen Green was bad in the playoffs, but it wasn't all Jalen Green's fault they lost in that first round. They had like no shooting, it seemed like. So replacing Jalen Green and Brooks with KD helps the shooting, but they need more shooters. And maybe that is where a guy like Reed Shepherd, a guy like Cam Whitmore comes in, slides in, and finally gets some minutes, can be impactful. But in my opinion, they still need to do more. They also still have to. They just declined Fred VanVleet's player option. So hopefully I think what's going to happen is he's going to sign a longer
restructured deal
where
like
he's not making as much
like
money.
28 million or something like that over 3 years.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Even like, I don't know. He might make like 31, 32.
I could see it. I mean,
Yeah.
he's like a guy that commands that probably.
Yeah, because I think there's a team out there willing to pay him 30, if I had to guess. But I think he'd want to play for this team because not only do they embrace him, but yeah, you're going to be playing next to Kevin Durant now.
Yeah.
You get to be more of a point guard role. You won't have as much offensive responsibility. And but when you are starting Sengun and Amen Thompson together, they are going to need that fifth guy. Now, can that fifth guy be a guy like, probably not Reed Shepherd, but let's say like Jabari Smith Jr., can Tyrese take a 3-point shooting leap? I just wouldn't bet on it. And I'm a guy who believes in Jabari Smith Jr., but I would go out and get a guy who can just be, I mean, it's harder than it sounds, but like a 3-and-D, great defender, great shooter kind of guy.
Right. So it sounds like to me you believe even with their current roster they don't have like they want to be active in the offseason.
I think they have a chance, but yeah, they should still be active.
So are they active on the trade market? Are they active in free agency? I mean, so let me just ask you this. Give me like a couple guys that you're like, I want Houston to go get, even if it means sacrificing a Tyrese or someone like that.
I don't know if you sacrifice Tari Eason for him.
Jabari Smith, whoever you believe is expendable on that roster.
I just think you go and get a guy like Cam Johnson. But yeah, but also I believe in Tari Eason and Jabari enough where it's like, I don't think you want to get rid of like that. So that's the problem that Houston has.
Because Jabari is like a guy that, could be as good as a Cam Johnson.
I think he could be better.
I think he could. No, he could obviously be better, but like he's a guy that you could easily look at and be like, we trade you for Cam Johnson. We might just be trading the player for the player.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, why would we do that and break up our chemistry?
Right. Yeah. You're just trading for an older version of the player you already have.
Yeah.
But also there's a chance where we saw in the regular season and in a couple games in the playoffs where he kind of looks like a nothing on offense because he doesn't have much, he's like 6'10". He's not very fast. And if he can't, like there was a couple times he just couldn't take advantage of Steph Curry guarding him, if you remember in the playoffs. So that's pretty concerning. So I'm even trying to think of other guys they can get. To be honest, I only really look at trades because free agency, like it still exists and free agency can still be impactful. But I feel like because players get extended a lot sooner now, like free agency will never be what it used to be when it comes to just role players. I could be wrong about that. Maybe we'll see some moves be made. I don't even know. Do they have cap outside of? They have to bring back Fred VanVleet. Like
that's what the computer's here for.
So I mean, we can look at that. But overall, again, okay, moves need to be made, and we'll look at the cap. I don't know what moves, but Kevin Durant is a top 8 player in basketball. He's a superstar. He has, at least in my opinion, 2 or 3 years left of being a superstar before he truly declines. Because this game does not rely on being uber athletic, going completely off the ground,
Yeah.
I don't think on this Rockets team, I think he will try his best to be a good defender, but he won't have to be one of the better defensive guys when you're playing next to Amen Thompson and next to even Sengun has taken a step. Steven Adams, players like that. And it looks like what they have 190 million.
So that's not accurate because that's
That's including
Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks and Fred.
Oh right, yeah. But I mean, they're replacing that cap with KD, so
Yeah, and KD. So KD probably is making like 50 something million.
and these add up to 54 million. So I would think it's about the same.
Yeah,
I don't know if this includes the player
but
option.
so no Fred. That means they're at 146 right now.
Yeah, but then yeah, they'll accept Jabari Smith and then Amen Thompson about 146, which by the way actually is not much cap at all.
Nope, it's really not. So the way you get guys is probably through a trade, honestly.
Yeah. I think there's probably gonna be a couple guys. That's the thing. Like, I actually think what they need, ideally, I think they get a fifth starter who plays 24 minutes a night, and ideally, Tari Eason or Jabari Smith close the game.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you get like a Royce O'Neal. A Royce O'Neal would be a good option in my opinion. You don't like that?
It's just a
He's
little.
still good.
You think he like? I know he's good, but you think that's like the championship push move?
I already believe in this Rockets core is the thing.
Yeah, I do too.
Because off the bench, they still have Whitmore and Reed
But
Shepard.
clearly, they went and got Kevin Durant because they're like, we're win now.
So do you think they trade guys like Reed Shepard and Cam Whitmore?
Maybe, yeah. I don't know that you can wait for them to develop if you just traded for Kevin Durant and you're like, we want to win now, right? We just traded Jalen Green, who was our quote unquote offensive superstar. I'm not saying he's not a good offensive player, but he was not a superstar.
Yeah.
And Dylan Brooks, who was a solid player. And you got a measurably older guy who's, like you said, 1 to 2 years. That's what he's got. So by making this trade, you're basically saying, as Houston, like, I think Houston watched OKC in the finals and said, okay, this team is beatable. We can beat this team. We just need to go get more. And they went and got more. So this to me says that Houston believes that with this core of guys, with Amen Thompson and Şengün's development in the next 1 to 2 years, that they believe they can win a championship. That's the timeline that we're looking at.
1 to 2 years.
Yeah. That's what because why would you trade for Kevin Durant otherwise? So you can be competitive, so you can mentor these guys? Like, no, that's not why you trade for Kevin Durant.
No, I still like, because they were the number 2. Like, I know like you want to buy all the way in, and I'm a believer. Trust me. Like, even though the Warriors won it in 22, I was kind of like they should buy it more. But I think the difference is the Rockets were the 2 seed last year,
Yeah.
and as much as you want to, give credit to Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks, they weren't that much help to that. Like, Dylan Brooks' defense was amazing, and Jalen Green was like one of their only scoring options. But I feel like this core, as it stands, is already top 2-3 team in the West easily.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess like last year they didn't deal with that many injuries, so maybe that kind of luck won't be the same next year, and you can't rely on that. But I think they're fine where they're at. Like, outside of getting just one other fifth starter to barely, like, I'm even trying to think of like an example of a championship. Like, even when's the last time a championship team had a guy who started who only played like 24, 25? Maybe like the Bucks. Who was that fifth starter on the Bucks besides PJ Tucker, Giannis,
Or like Pat
Middleton?
Connaughton or something.
Or yeah, kind of like that. Where like he's not supposed to be your fifth best player, but him starting, giving a good like 6-7 first minutes of the game, first 6-7 minutes after halftime. I just don't think they need. I think they have talent, and they don't need talent. They just need players that fit. And that, personally, to me, that's Royce O'Neal.
Maybe, yeah. I would honestly. I know a lot of people don't like him, but I would point to another Suns player and say, why not Grayson Allen?
Yeah, which is funny. They just made a trade with the Suns, and we recommend 2 Suns players.
Why not? Just go like. Can I have more? Can I have another one?
I'll give you more if you give me more.
I'll give you more if you give me more. Can I have another one?
But
yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think about the Rockets right now?
I think it's a good move. I think it's a necessary move at this point in time. It does concern me a little bit for the offensive development of their other guys, but Şengün and Thompson are both young enough that like 22 each. Like, I don't know that you're super concerned about it like hampering their offensive development. And Kevin Durant's also the type of guy that like he's a super efficient scorer.
Yeah, he is not.
He doesn't need to be a volume scorer. So, I mean, I don't dislike it, but
this really does open up Amen Thompson's game even more, in my opinion, versus like playing next to Jalen Green, where Jalen Green's not helping Amen's game that much. KD will.
But I do think they need more shooting. I do think they need more guys that, as Amen Thompson develops his drive and kick ability, because he's shown his ability as a passer and a playmaker. I think the best thing to do is surround him with shooters and surround Şengün with shooters.
Yeah. Maybe you go get a guy like Sam Hauser if the Celtics are selling.
Could be, yeah.
Which
Sam Hauser.
The Celtics probably should be selling. So overall, I mean, I still think if I spare your early prediction, I think the Rockets are still. I think they're still a top 3 seed for sure with
Yeah.
this KD trade. And honestly, you don't trade KD to get more wins in the regular season. But I think the fit is so good where, yeah, Jalen Green, like he had his times during the regular season and overall average over 20 points per game. But Kevin Durant's going to play way better. Like way better. He's going to fit better.
He's just he's an improvement.
Yeah, which is crazy to think that, yeah, this 2 seed.
Yeah.
Only to the Thunder, by the way. Yeah, like being the 2 seed to the Thunder.
That's
no one's catching up to the Thunder.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, the West was close from that like 2 through like basically 9. No, not 9. 2 through 8.
Right, but also the Rockets took their foot off the gas when they realized no one's catching up to them in those last like 10 games. Like I feel like they lost a good amount of games.
A little bit, yeah. And they took the Warriors to 7, and that was a good Warriors team. So
yeah,
and
they had a very flawed. Like the fact that they were the 2 seed and their roster looks so flawed versus the Warriors just tells you that with KD it's gonna be a whole lot better. We just gotta hope that KD stays healthy. Amen Thompson, I think, had an injury either last year or his rookie year. I forget which one it was, but hopefully he stays healthy. And yeah, this is gonna be. I mean, that for sure one of the teams to be most scared of because no one was scared of the Rockets because their best player was. Either, well, at the time people were saying Jalen Green or Sengun. Now clearly everyone knows it's Sengun. It's like not even close.
God, don't even get me started on that. Like even as a Warriors fan, that just irritated me so much on the broadcast. Their young superstar Jalen Green, like,
yeah,
he's the guy that made the All-Star team this year.
And so Jalen Green is going to the Suns. I've seen different sources of people saying Jalen Green will stay on the Suns. He won't. I think most likely. More of the sources have been saying he will stay.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I actually think Devin Booker and Jalen Green would be a good duo. Like, a hot take. I think Devin Booker is still a good enough playmaker where we've seen years where he had a lot of responsibility playmaking-wise, like including like last year and this year, and he stepped up. And Jalen Green could play the 2 next to him, and I feel like it would work great. It's just Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal...
When is it ever just not Bradley Beal when it comes to the Suns? That is the crux of every single problem.
Which, by the way, if you guys didn't see, I don't think I told you. Apparently, the guy who tweeted or reported on most of the KD news went out and said that apparently 1 or 2 teams are gaining interest on Bradley Beal. I don't believe it for a second. Let's hope for the Suns' sake that, well...
Let's hope for the Suns' sake and also hope for the sake... hope for the sake of the Suns that it's true, and hope for the sake of those other teams that it's not.
Right, yeah, that's exactly
like, why would you go out and trade for Bradley Beal at this point?
No, you'd have to really be tanking next season. Which I guess some
next thing you know, Luka's getting traded for Bradley Beal.
Luka?
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, the Lakers might need a scorer. No,
too fat, too lazy. Must get Bradley Beal.
Dude, the Suns already had their chance at Luka, and they passed on him for Ayton, bro. So, yeah, I think the Suns. I don't.
Let's put Booker and Luka on the same team.
That'd be hilarious. Those two hate each other. They learn to like each other, but I'm pretty sure they do have their pick next season.
Phoenix?
Actually, if you could look that up real quick. They're not going to be good next season. I think there's no way. I see teams that were behind them that will easily pass the Suns, and the Suns didn't even. Yeah, they didn't make the play-in, did they? They didn't even make the play-in, and I think. Early prediction, the Pelicans and the Spurs are both going to be better teams than the Suns. So I don't know how the Suns enter the play-in race. Maybe Memphis, I don't know.
So here's the deal. They have their own first-round pick next year. Washington has the right to swap its 2026 first-round pick, protected for selections 9 through 30, for Phoenix's 2026 first-round pick. Orlando has the right to swap its 2026 first-round pick for the less favorable of the Phoenix pick and the Washington pick, if conveyable. Memphis then has the right to this is a mouthful. Swap its 2026 first round pick for the least/less favorable of the Phoenix pick, the Washington pick, if conveyable, and the Orlando pick. And Charlotte will receive the least favorable of these. If the Washington pick is not conveyable, then the commitment to Washington will be lifted, and Orlando will instead have the right to swap its pick for the Phoenix pick.
So I don't think they actually own the pick.
So they don't own the pick.
They don't own any pick.
No. So basically, Washington's pick is conveyable. Convey its first round pick. So Washington's pick is conveyable unless it's 9 through 30. And if it's 9 through 30, is that what I'm reading? Because it's protected for 9 through 30.
I don't know if they own the pick. It sounds like
It doesn't sound like they do. It sounds like they don't.
It sounds like either one team gets their pick or another team gets
one of 4 teams gets their pick, but not them. How did they get themselves in this situation?
Do they? It's a whole rabbit hole that I don't even want to get into. That's probably something we should have prepared for. But
then they have Utah, Cleveland, or Minnesota's pick. What does that mean?
I feel like if they have a pick next year, it is literally like the worst of like 5 teams.
They don't have a first pick. They have a second round pick via Denver or Golden State.
So I don't know what you do. If you're Phoenix, you just try and develop the players you have, I guess.
Holy Corby, this is a whole paragraph.
Dude, that's 7 straight lines.
What the hell?
200 words for a draft.
This is actually, I'm not even joking. I'm going to put this in a word counter. I'm like,
the implications of the 2028 Suns first round pick might have 200 words to it. So while he does that, I mean, they have a couple young pieces. They have, well, Booker's not young anymore, but they have Jalen Green that you can, trade Dylan Brooks to a different team, which, by the way, I think there's a couple of different teams that would take Dylan Brooks.
oh yeah, I used this before.
They have Oso Ighodaro, or I don't know how to say it. They have Ryan Dunn. Ryan Dunn looks like a promising player. I'm trying to think who else they have. Grayson Allen, I guess.
There's 234 words in this thing.
So pretty much the Suns, y'all are screwed, bro. And it really does suck because you were in such a good. I guess okay. Wait, you have the 10th pick. I forgot about that, and you have 5 second-round picks. Apparently, I think one of the second-round picks is the last pick of this draft. So a terrible second-round pick, and then
they have
the 10th pick.
They do have it's not the last, but it's 52nd. Which in this they have the 29th pick via Cleveland.
Oh, they do have that. So
yeah.
Well, this doesn't include the 10th. No, they might have 52 and the last pick because
now they. Yeah.
So they have 10 and 29.
Yeah.
So that's a couple players to develop, but yeah, it sounds like you're probably not going to get your own pick for 2026, according to that paragraph. And
I don't know what's going to happen in 2028.
I don't even want to read it, dude. So I guess you just develop your players. You hope that you can't hope you win the lottery. There's literally no way you get that. Yeah, you just hope you make the play-in. Like, there's no reason to lose. I guess Devin Booker, you have a year. This is your year to prove not only it's a Devin Booker's year to prove himself as like still a top 15 kind of guy, which he was not this year. It is also Jalen Green's year to prove himself. You are out of Houston. You are now in a worse situation because of your own fault, your own play. Mm-hmm. Suns fans, I feel so bad for y'all. Like there was this. So I keep like pulling out random sources, but like these are just like random tweets. Mm-hmm. So the guy, I think it was the guy who had all the KD sources, said that a coach texted him saying that the way that people look at the Suns, it's like every single player is a liability on defense, which KD kind of went out and said, there's no way anyone's saying, I pull out the tape of me getting picked on defense. Because he was saying like everyone gets picked on the Suns. But outside of Kevin Durant, you look at the rest of that Suns roster and you're kind of like, yeah, defensively, that team might be worse than like the Jazz or Wizards next year.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was telling our friend Bjorn this. The Phoenix Suns, outside of Booker and Durant, have the worst roster in the NBA.
Yeah, I'd rather have like the Jazz and Wizards. Like, I'm not even kidding.
Yeah,
because like the Jazz and Wizards try and lose.
Mm-hmm.
That's one reason that they look bad and they play like worse players. The Suns never tried to lose, and they still looked absolutely terrible. I mean, they were the 11th seed, which isn't nearly the worst in the NBA, but they were so awful. Yeah, that's really all I have to say.
Sorry, I'm just counting the number of teams in this paragraph. There's 7 teams. Somehow OKC is involved, because of course they are.
Yeah.
I don't even like... How do they... What the... How?
All right. I don't want to read all that, so let's honestly just move on to the next section of the pod. We will be doing 2025 NBA mock draft. The NBA draft is in 2 days from now, probably 1 day from when we upload it. I can't wait. I actually was gonna do a mock draft on my own channel, and I did one, I think like 3 weeks ago, and I never did another one. So this is gonna be pretty fun. Cam's gonna have all of the odd picks. I'll have all the even ones.
Yep.
And let's just get right into it.
All right. I think there's not much to say about this first one. Number 1 overall pick. I think regardless of who gets it, whether the Mavs keep it or trade it or whatever they do, it's Cooper Flagg. Best prospect in the draft by far. Highest potential. Probably highest floor, too, in the draft.
Yeah.
When it comes right down to it. Like, I don't see any way he's a bad NBA player.
No, because at very minimum, in my opinion, he's the second best defensive prospect in the whole draft.
Yeah.
second to Colin Murray Boyles, but him being with his offensive talent and athleticism and all that, being second in the whole draft is pretty crazy.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I think the worst he is a starter in the NBA.
Yeah.
Like a good starter. So
I don't see much bust.
Yep. So
ability.
Cooper Flag to the Dallas Mavericks.
All right, number 2 pick, San Antonio Spurs. This is gonna be like mostly. I'm gonna try and predict it. Like I am gonna give my own spice of like this is what I think they should do. But like for the most part, this is like a prediction. The Spurs will pick Dylan Harper. Just overall talent. I think he's just a smart player. He has the ability to get to the rim going. He is kind of like similar to a Cade Cunningham. I think he's not as good of a prospect as Cade Cunningham. I actually think Dylan Harper's a slightly overrated prospect, and he's not this entire tier above everyone else. But as long as that's the perception of him, he will probably go number 2.
Yeah.
Because honestly, you want guys who can just for sure play in the playoffs when you're doing these drafts, and that's Dylan Harper for me.
Yeah, I think a lot of people. I've seen a lot of stuff about how he would be the best player in any other draft, like in a lot of other drafts or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I don't necessarily agree with that. I do think he is a really good player at his floor, and I think I think he has a high ceiling. I think it's always hard with these guards a little bit, just to know where they're gonna land. But yeah, it also fits San Antonio. I know some people will say, "Oh, but they have Castle and they have Fox." It's not the same player.
I'm one of those guys, so
I
still do think the fit isn't great.
It's not great, but you take talent.
Yeah, I mean,
if you have expendable talent, then you have expendable talent.
I think personally, I think they should trade down, but
I think they will, or I think they'll make a huge trade and package number 2 with like
Giannis or something,
like Stephon Castle and number 2 and like other guys for like Giannis or something crazy like that. Next one is Philadelphia. And this is kind of becoming a more complicated pick by the day because everything that comes out about Ace Bailey is that he doesn't want to go to Philly. Apparently his preferred teams came out today and it was Washington, Brooklyn, and the Pelicans, which I don't know why he would want to go to the Pelicans. That's a guaranteed way to get hurt. Maybe he wants to put on weight. Who knows?
I guess, that would be the reason why I go to New Orleans.
I don't know.
The only way. Louisiana, that...
So for that reason, it's like, maybe they take VJ Edgecombe. Maybe they look at like a Trey Johnson. I still think you go Ace Bailey here. Personally, what I think is going to happen, I think Philly is trying to bait, and we were talking about this. I think we both kind of think this. Philly's trying to bait Charlotte into trading up. Or they might just end up taking VJ Edgecombe because I think VJ Edgecombe is a great fit on Charlotte. And I think that's the guy they want. So they might just be trying to bait them into trading up, or they might end up taking Edgecombe and then doing like a Luka Doncic, Trae Young type of thing where they swap 3 and 4. But I don't know. Ace Bailey, in terms of a shot maker and a scorer, probably has the highest potential in the entire draft.
Easily.
I think it's easy. He's listed as 6'10" here. He's probably actually 6'8".
Yeah.
But even still, look, Paul George is not what he once was. I know Philly maybe wants to run it back with him and see what they can get out of him. But at the very least, Ace Bailey being mentored by a guy like Paul George is all you could ask for. Yeah. So
I personally think the Sixers either leave the draft with both Paul George and Ace Bailey or neither. Like, I don't know. Paul George is such an advocate on his podcast for Ace Bailey. Like, I know it shouldn't mean anything, but in my eyes, or in my mind, like, one of your star players says all that, and then you don't draft him when he's right there. Mm-hmm. Like, you might just, try and get rid of him too. I don't know, which obviously is harder to do because Paul George's contract is insane. Number 4 pick. This makes it pretty. I'm not gonna lie. If you picked VJ Edgecombe at pick 3, I would have like almost no idea where to go at number 4. But because Ace Bailey's taken at 3, and if this happens in real life, then you pick VJ Edgecombe easily at 4.
Yeah.
Amazing defensive prospect, overall athlete. He reminds me so much of Georgia Anthony Edwards. Like not NBA Anthony Edwards like right now, but just the way his athleticism moves, the way he gets to the rim, the way that he even like is kind of the way he shoots and how like inconsistent it kind of is, but how difficult of shots he takes.
Right.
Just everything about him screams Georgia Ant. And I don't think he's as good of a. Actually, it's pretty close because I'm not gonna lie. Ant as a prospect had a lot of flaws. Like I'm not gonna lie. Like,
yeah, but Ant was the clear number 1, and that was even with a LaMelo Ball, who there was hype around. even if there's questions. And James Wiseman, who people viewed as like the best player in the draft at that point in time, like talent-wise, which I don't know how that turned
Yeah,
out.
we don't have
But
to talk about that.
NBA champion James Wiseman, by the way.
Yeah.
So,
He
but
he could have been a 2-time champion. with the
could have.
Pacers.
He could have, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. How crazy is that, by the way?
Yeah.
First game of the season and last game of the season, Pacers have like season-ending injuries for 2 players.
His was either ACL or Achilles.
His was an ACL.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree with VJ Edgecombe there. I think he's a little bit raw offensively when I watch him. So he will need to develop a jumper, which is not the easiest thing to do in the NBA. But if he does, then the sky's the limit, really, for a guy like that with that much athleticism and defensive ability.
Yeah.
Utah Jazz. It was a little bit like tough knowing where to go with this guy.
Who else is there? I feel like they're missing someone on this board where it's like that could go number 5.
They might be.
Oh, maybe they're not. Maybe I'm crazy. Oh well. What were you saying?
I feel like there's a few directions that we can go, but we were watching some highlights of this guy before we started this podcast. I think I'm going to go Trey Johnson here because I think just watching him, he gets compared a lot to Klay Thompson, Ray Allen, shooters like that. He might have been that at the beginning of the season. The more we watched like his progression of highlights, he looks like a Devin Booker or like an Anthony Edwards. He doesn't quite have the athleticism of an Anthony Edwards, but he kind of plays like Book.
Yeah.
And I think if he can meet his offensive ability, wow, the Jazz just found themselves a guy. Like that's a guy you can build around.
I agree. I also think he has the highest ceiling of anyone, and that's really what the Jazz should be attacking. They need a guy to build around. They still don't have that, and I think he's the best chance you have.
Yeah. Obviously didn't have the most efficient freshman season, but he's 19 too.
He was Texas's whole offense. Dude.
Yeah.
I don't care.
And Texas does not play weak competition. So that's another thing to note. Like, I don't know who Rutgers was playing. I think they were playing solid teams, but they weren't like good. Texas was still a solid like basketball team.
SEC is
the SEC is not a joke, dude. Not in any. It's crazy how much they just dominate like every sport seemingly.
No.
But yeah, next we have the Washington Wizards,
which it's gonna be. I'm like looking through because I feel like someone's missing. Here's the thing: the Wizards, do they have someone that you truly build around? No. But I think what they need to focus on is probably their offense more than their defense, because they have guys like Bilal, they have Sarr, they have these defensive prospects, and they have the same thing for offense: Jordan Poole, Bub Carrington. They have a couple Corey Kispert, but I'm pretty sure they were like easily last in offense this year, if I'm not wrong, and then they were like third to last in defense.
right?
So I mean, it is easily. It's between either Colin Knuppel, Derek Queen, and honestly Jeremiah Fears could still be good. But I think they have the guards figured out, especially with Jordan Poole still being on the roster.
Yeah.
So dang it, I don't know, because here's the thing: Derek Queen is a great offensive center, and that might be what you need if you really want Sarr to be a power forward from now on, because he is kind of more built like a power forward, like an Evan Mobley, you know?
Yeah.
But you know what? I think the talent of Colin Knuppel. I watched this guy. And he looks like a stereotypical white guy who would just be an elite shooter, but he can actually drive to the rim. He's actually, I don't know what the numbers say, but just when I watched him in March Madness, he's able to draw fouls at the rim, which is very important in the NBA, and he's not a defensive liability. He's kind of like, in my opinion, he's a little bit less athletic than Kennett, but it's like if Kennett was like 4 years younger and was a better defender.
He kind of reminds me a little bit of another white guy on the Lakers, Austin Reeves.
I could see some Reeves too. Yeah. So that. Oh yeah, and then just by the way, just for fun, once the draft happens, I will be tallying. I might make it as short, might not. I'll tally how many we get right.
Yeah.
But also, so I think part of like how many I get right depends on how many you get right, because I'm kind of feeding off.
Oh yeah, I mean this is a group effort right here.
Yeah. So we'll see how many get right. I'm pretty confident right now.
Group project.
Ace Bailey could just ruin everything. Is the problem.
He really could. I mean, he could fall as far as 8 or 9.
Yeah, but I'm still not mad at you taking him there.
I just think offensively, he's the best prospect in the draft when it comes to like potential. So, this is a tricky spot. So it's the Pelicans next. They've said they're sticking with Zion. They got Yves Missi last year. They're a weird team because you look at their roster and theoretically they don't have that many holes.
No,
but like it.
their whole is just being able to stay healthy.
Yeah, that's actually their whole. If they stay healthy next year, they might be like a top 6 team in the West.
Yeah.
That's not even crazy to say. Um,
I don't think you'll pick my guy because
I don't think I will either. I honestly,
I might change my guy right now.
yeah, I'm like, ooh, I don't know. There's like a lot of directions you could go.
There's a lot of good options, but there's no like great option. Like
Yeah,
there's no one
it's
who
like
really-
okay, I think Derek Queen is probably the best prospect left on the board. But do you pick Derek Queen and try to like pair him next to Misi and Zion?
Yeah, that's the problem. But
Do you
also
pick-
the center position is so valuable in the NBA.
It
I
is.
think
It's
Queen
really
would be a good
valuable.
pairing with Zion. The problem is obviously like the defense isn't there with Queen and the Pelicans. You know, I mean, they kind of struggle with defense, but at the same time, I feel like they have a core of players where you have, I mean, DeJounte's, as a Hawks fan, I will say he's not a great defender, but you have Herb Jones, you have Trey Murphy, you have Zion, who when he's locked in can play
How old
defense.
is he? Oh, he's only 19.
No, he's young.
I'm almost looking for a guy who's going to be a guy that you can look at right now and go, you're a producer. Because that's kind of where the Pelicans are at this year. You want a guy who can like contribute now.
Yeah.
Um,
And I mean, is that who you want?
I
though?
mean, I
Because
might.
at the same
yeah.
time, they have a couple players where it's like Jordan Hawkins could start getting some real minutes, and then maybe they need someone to develop for next year. Maybe.
Yeah, that's true too.
So I mean, I'd be looking at either center or I mean, you know, how much
How much do you-
longer does CJ McCollum have?
How much longer does DeJounte Murray have?
We don't know because yeah, he came off what? Did he tear his ACL? I think he did. Was it?
Yeah, I think it was his ACL. Yeah. Um,
I will say.
You know what?
I don't know. I don't know if I'd pick him, but Jacku Jonas. Is
yeah,
a
I know.
great pick and roll ball him.
I know he is. Is he just a little? No, he's 19 too.
No, there's some young.
You know what? I'm going Jacko Jonas.
You're going Jacku. Okay,
Yeah.
that's interesting. Honestly.
I think so. I think if you are sticking it out with Zion and you pair him next to Zion, that's a deadly pick and roll. Because he showed his ability as a passer, he can shoot, and I also think you are not set on your guards as the Pelicans, right? You want to see what Missy gives you. You want to see like what Trey Murphy gives you this year. You know, you have your wings and your bigs pretty much figured out. The guards are the big question mark. How much longer does CJ have? How much longer does DeJounte have? And so I think you get a guard here. For me, it was between kind of him and Jeremiah Fears. And I just like the height and overall NBA readiness of Jacko Jonas better.
Okay, I think Fears is a better prospect, but you know what? I do think Jacku Jonas fits a little better.
Mm-hmm.
So I could definitely see that. Number 8 for the Nets is so interesting because we don't know what's going to happen with Claxton. And I always preach that I think the center position is like the most important one to secure in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
But like they kind of need a guy. Like they're another team where they don't have a guy to build around. And
Yeah.
I think if you're going up for pure ceiling, then you have to go Jeremiah Fears. I mean,
I'm not mad at it.
I could see him being a legit Nets D'Lo, where he's like an all-star type player, an all-star guard that where you
Yeah.
finally start somewhere. I understand they do have Cam Thomas. They do.
Speaking of Nets D'Lo, looking at him right now,
Where's Nets D'Lo?
he's right there on the roster.
Oh, he is on. Oh, right, he's on the Nets.
Yeah,
I forgot he was on the Nets.
Nets D'Lo. Yeah,
Well, I was talking about him like 7 years ago, but that works too. Yeah, he is also already on the Nets.
is Jeremiah Fear?
You know what?
That was not 7. Oh my God, it was.
It was like 6. Yeah, I think it was 2019.
Yeah, it was. Oh,
You know what? I think I'm changing. I know I just said that. I think I'm changing it.
yeah.
Now that I remember, they do have both Cam Thomas and
Yeah, because
D'Lo.
how is Jeremiah Fears getting any shots this season?
Yes, I'm sorry. This roster is so bad. Where yes,
Those
he
are
will-
two elite shot chuckers.
You are right about that. I think they still believe in Thomas, and for that reason, you know what? I'm just gonna stick with. You know what? I'll do it. I'll pick Derek Queen at 7. I have I have a good feeling that he falls out of the top 10,
Yeah,
but I'm not glad if the Nets are in this position. You might just pick. This is a center with legit upside.
yeah.
And maybe potentially he could play the 4 next to Claxton if they decide to keep Claxton. And I think
Or play the 5 if they trade Claxton. So I don't. I don't
Yeah,
dislike
I might
that pick,
regret
though.
it. Just also, they do have Noah Clowney, but Noah Clowney is more of a 4 too. Like,
Mhm.
you know what? I'm sticking with it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not mad at it. This is another weird one. The Raptors. I have no idea what they're gonna look like this year because Quickly got hurt at the very beginning of the year. They traded for Brandon Ingram, who was hurt for most of the season anyway. I have no idea what this team is supposed to look like. RJ Barrett looked really good this year.
Well, I think you stick with Quickly, RJ,
Yep.
Ingram, Scotty Barnes.
Yep. So the only
Brady
position is
off
like
the bench.
Jakob Poeltl at center. Solid, but is that like your guy moving forward?
I wouldn't think so.
So then you go center, I think here.
I think you do.
And I think
Why are you so hesitant on Mulak?
No. I'm not. I'm just talking about Danny Wolf. I was like,
Oh yeah, no, that being the next best center. I'm just
Yeah.
surprised you're even looking at the other centers because I'm not going.
it's Malawak.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that is how you pronounce
it's
it?
it's either
it
Mulach.
Mulat
I
or
think it's Mulach.
Mulach?
Yeah, because I looked up the pronunciation and it was literally like 2 syllables.
I'll trust you on that, and I'll also blame you for it if I get it wrong.
It's probably wrong.
But I'm taking come on Mulach with the Raptors 9th pick. Then I think he provides them a lot of size in the middle, and it also lets you get off of Jakob Poeltl's contract and trade him.
He in fact does. Now this is the problem. I think Jeremiah Fears is a great prospect, and I believe for the most part you should be going best prospect available. However, the Suns are in a horrible situation right now. So I think there's a couple different other guys. If they want to go someone who can play potentially center, maybe power forward, even though he can't shoot, you go Colin Murray Boyles, best defender in the class.
Yeah.
However, Carter Bryant is a very good prospect. I'm not too big on Nick Clifford. Cedric Howard's a very good. Noah Asenge is a great forward. There's a couple different good options, but they would just have so many guards if they took Fears.
Yeah, have you seen their roster, what it looks like right now? Like someone kind of made a joke, and it's like funny because it's like it's not entirely how the roster is, but it's like point guard, nobody, small forward, nobody, power forward, nobody, center, nobody, and then shooting guard, it's like Grayson Allen, Devin Booker, Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, Bradley Beal.
Yeah.
They have only shooting
They have
guards.
only shooting guards. I guess technically they would need a point guard, but
They need everything. Let's be honest here. They need the best player available. I think at the
I
end of the
understand
day.
they need best player. I'm gonna go Carter Bryant.
Yeah.
Very good defender. Shot I think like 38% from 3. He didn't take very difficult threes, but he did that. I think it was literally only like 7 points per game, but just athletic and can play alongside Booker and Jalen Green. And you take him, it's not like you're just totally going for complimentary, even though he is complimentary. He is talented. It just would hurt kind of passing on Fears. And this is another team coming up that might want to pass on Fears.
And that's the problem is like this team will pass on Fears, in my opinion. You don't take Fears when you already have Scoot. You already have that problem with Scoot and Anthony.
Yeah.
Why would you introduce another factor into that? And you also have Shaden Sharp. I feel like this is an identity building draft for the Trailblazers.
Yeah.
I feel like you have now a solid amount of talent actually on your roster. Shaden Sharp came into his own. Denny Abdia looked really good this year. Ayton, solid. Grant's probably gone at some point, I would imagine.
I would imagine too.
Scoot is starting to look comfortable, and that is dangerous for other teams because he has a lot of potential, and it's taken him a bit, but also, like, remember, he's like 21. Like, he's got time.
Yeah.
Amen is 22. So.
And Portland they were pretty good defensively
Yeah.
last year. And I think when Scoot develops more, they can be better offensively, but they might want some offensive weapons.
Yeah.
It's
an interesting choice. They have Kamara. Kamara's another guy. They have a lot of guys.
They also have Kamara. Yeah, they do.
They have a lot of guys.
They have their centers, the Ayton and Klingon.
So while I'm like, I want to give them more offense in some sense, I also want to stick with the defensive identity. And for that reason, I think I'm going Colin Murray Boyles.
I don't hate it. I do think that does kind of complicate things when it comes to he's either playing with Ayton or Klingon and then Scoot's your point guard. But, I mean...
Oh, yeah, I forgot about Klingon, too. Like, yeah.
Yeah, so...
But I think Ayton's a guy that you could afford to, like, trade, I think.
Oh, my gosh. It's another team that doesn't need any more guards. But I literally do think
Maybe you do, honestly.
maybe you just pick fears.
Maybe, because what position are the Bulls in right now? Oh my God, they have so many guards.
They have so many. Okay, so they already have.
Distonmu, White, Giddy, Ball. Like,
They need a center, but there's not even any good center prospects. They already have a good couple.
give
They
him-
do not have a good couple forwards.
give them Danny Wolf.
Oh my gosh, no. I was gonna say that, but good. They have one good forward. Patrick Williams, I'm done with. I'm done with you, Patrick Williams. You've shown nothing in 5 years.
Damn,
You're like literally the worst version of DeAndre.
he's
Hunter.
done with them.
DeAndre Hunter was actually at least decent and finally had a good season. Patrick Williams hasn't shown any of that.
Boo, Patrick Williams.
So,
do you-
Here's
Who do you go? Igor Demon is not 6'9".
yeah, but he is like a guard. Like that's really the problem.
Yeah.
And
You
he's
could
not a
go-
good shooter.
Who do you? There's another guy. I might get to him later. There's another guy that's not popping up on this list, and I think it's the guy we're both thinking should be higher, because we both talked about.
Who are you thinking about? Actually,
I don't, we both talked about how much we liked him when we saw him in the tournament.
what him? Will Riley?
Yes, sir. Yeah, Will Riley.
I do think he should be this high, but I think there's a lot of good prospects left still.
Yeah.
Even though I wouldn't be mad at him going here. I just the problem is, the team's two best players are guards, and Kobe White and I guess Josh Giddey.
And they have Matas at small forward.
We're about to be so wrong about this dude because
Yeah.
Fierce is about to go top 6, and then it's all of a sudden now it's just like
Yeah. No, that's cooked.
so
Nice.
I'm just gonna let it keep going.
Yeah, he's gonna go. He's definitely gonna go top 6, and if he doesn't, then he might fall out of the lottery. That's insane, dude.
He might.
Noah Senge.
I'm going Noah Senge.
Yeah.
Great defensive forward. I don't want to influence you, but our two best players are not guards. Who's the Hawks' backup point guard? I don't want to influence you, but the Atlanta Hawks, I would take Fears as a point guard.
No.
Now, there's a couple other guys who I would
This
want.
was your plot all along. Oh, let's not take.
Okay, here's the thing.
Oh my God, it's the Hawks. Oh, I wonder who they could take here.
Here's the thing. Every one of my picks, Cam, which was the Suns and what I just did, the Bulls,
Yeah.
their two best players literally were guards. Like,
Yeah.
that's really the problem.
But, I mean, your best player is a
My
point guard.
best player is a point guard. And by the way, also an Oklahoma Sooner point guard.
Oh, wow.
The connection could be there.
Luck
If
on
you pass on
the
him, I won't be
connection.
mad. If you take him, I'll be happy. But I won't be mad if you pass on it because I think there's a couple guys. It depends. So if you guys didn't know, I'm a Hawks fan and Cam's picking for the Hawks. We'll see how this goes. We'll see if I'll be happy.
Who's
with
at the
your pick or
bottom
not.
of this thing?
No, don't go to the bottom.
No, I'm going all the way to the bottom.
You know, a lot of mock drafts actually have. the
Wow, this
Hawks-
goes for a long way. You
know,
want him?
I was high on him actually a couple years ago. But not now. Not now.
Are you sure?
He went to Kentucky. You know that? Izivich. He plays for Arkansas now.
Ivizic.
I'm saying it wrong, so if I say Arkansas, hopefully people will know.
Ivizic.
A lot of people have been saying Asa Newell, one because Georgia and he's like a power forward. I wouldn't want Asa Newell, but
Yeah.
a lot of people have mocked that. It's up to you. You can mock whatever, bro. It's up to you. Like you in troll. You can not.
You're getting like you're trying to act so nonchalant about this.
There's a couple.
You
different
can
players
do
to be
whatever
happy
you want.
with.
You can do.
I mean, if you watch my video, I made a video on which players to be happy with.
I did.
I think only like one or two have been taken.
You
Could be
know,
wrong.
the Hawks really need a secondary playmaker at the guard position. Karis LeVert's not getting it done. Let's take Jeremiah Fears. No, he fits their timeline too. I feel like with Jalen Johnson, Risa Shea, like Trey's,
Even Dyson. Is pretty
even
young.
Dyson, like he fits their timeline. Like even if you keep Trey around, it could be the new guard.
To be
Like,
honest, the Hawks timeline is pretty similar to the Thunder in the fact that like Shea's a bit older than everyone else, just like Trey, and everyone else is like pretty young outside of Caruso, Hartenstein,
yeah.
Evan Hawks, Capella. He's like literally the only man out besides like I guess LeVert.
How's he still on the team?
He's a free agent,
Okay.
so he might leave.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So
Back-
we are gonna go to like pick 16 or 17, I think.
We're back to the Spurs.
Pick 14, San Antonio Spurs. They picked a guard. I think they obviously don't go a guard. I'd honestly go a backup big normally. I'm just really not high. Maybe I forgot to say this. The Creighton center, Ryan
Kalkbrenner.
Kalkbrenner.
Yeah.
I saw him. He was pretty good. A lot of people have been like, I guess fans, right? But they've
Yeah.
been pretty high on Joan Behringer. I
Yeah.
just haven't seen much of him
Give
personally.
him another French center. See how that one works out.
Right. Rasheer Fleming obviously has the experience. It might be good immediately. But like,
I think your thought here is this guy's not starting.
yeah.
Personally.
But you might just want to go talent here. And if you just go talent, or just even like potential, all that kind of stuff, like you just don't need another guard. Yeah, give me Cedric Howard. More of a small forward kind of player.
Okay.
Has really shot like crazy high recently in all of the big boards and mock drafts.
Mhm.
Even though he's a senior and he hasn't like shown that much, like he killed the combine, is super athletic, taller than people thought, and just has
Yeah.
the tools. And
All
next
right.
is the OKC Thunder at 15.
Right. The champions.
The champions in the middle of the draft.
Oh, and guess what? Their upcoming pick is the 24th pick. So,
Oh, that's great.
yeah. This is such an interesting spot. How do you fill a hole for a team that just won the championship? Apparently, their center need is severe, according to this. So,
That's pretty crazy.
like, what does that even mean?
I don't know.
Um,
I mean, I would just kind of look for a shooter. Even though I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie, out of these first 8 that they're showing me, none of them are shooters.
I got it.
like not a single. Maybe Fleming is kind of a shooter, but
I mean, maybe you go a shooter, but how many rookies are like great shooters in their first, like right away?
yeah, even Jordan Hawkins struggled his rookie. I'm trying to see like, yeah,
So-
what's the next shooter on this board?
Maybe if
Jake
you,
Richardson, I guess. He's a
I
guard.
don't like going too.
Clayton, Walter Clayton.
I don't like going either of those guys there, honestly.
Will Riley.
I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, no, there's not many shooters.
No,
left.
there really isn't. So I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna go back up here, and I think you might take Asa Newell.
I don't hate that. He played pretty well next to Chet. I don't think he could play the 5 by himself personally.
Yeah,
Even though he's 6'11", he has a pretty small frame, but he is a good rebound. I mean, in college, right? But he was a great rebounder for Georgia.
yeah,
And I mean, if he ends up being an average 3-point shooter, he
Yeah.
will be a great player. That jump shot looks pretty ugly.
yeah. I mean, I think that's who I'd go here.
But, yeah, not a bad pick at all.
Yeah.
And then number 16, Memphis Grizzlies. I think we'll go to 17 and call it at that.
Yep.
The Grizzlies just traded Bane. They do still have a couple of wings, but I'm not gonna lie, I still think you just go overall. So right now it says their shooting guard need is pretty severe.
Mm-hmm.
I think the pure potential that Igor Demon has, I seriously do think. Oh, you could also go Will Riley
Yeah.
or Jace Richardson. But you know what? I was really low on this guy, and I don't like letting March Madness change me. But I was really low on this guy this whole year, and then March Madness happened, and then the measurements happened. He ended up being taller than everyone thought.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go Igor Demon. I'll go him.
I'm not mad at it.
His shot is super fluky, but like when you have a guy with that kind of skill set, where he is by far, he has the best vision in the draft. Like his passing vision, he was able to average 6-7 assists for BYU.
6'7".
6 without like dribbling the ball. Like
Mhm.
just off purely just knowing when people cut. And is Memphis that kind of team right now? No.
Mm-mm.
Well, actually, to be honest, maybe I regret because I remember this whole last year they didn't run any pick and rolls,
Yeah.
and that's why they struggled. Now I think he can be a good pick and roll guy. I think Igor Devin would have really flourished in this year's Grizzlies offense, where like there was just a bunch of movement. So
Yeah.
you could find reads, but I still think he has potential. That's the thing, and sometimes that's just what you want. Pick
Yeah.
17 for the Wolves.
It's an interesting spot. I mean, it really is dependent on who they bring back and who they don't in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I think for me, I think they're fine on guards. I mean, I could
Yeah.
be wrong. Like I don't know. Like yeah, how much do you trust?
Well, you want Rob Dillingham to get burned next
hope,
year.
yeah.
So
But yeah, can you 100% rely on Rob Dillon? I still think he's a good.
no,
player,
but do you draft a rookie to fill that spot instead? No.
No. But I'm not gonna like the best prospect.
I'm not-
left, in my opinion, are guards.
I know, but I'm not picking Waller Clayton Jr. here.
Oh no.
I'm not picking Nolan Traore here. I'm not picking Jace Richardson here. So like,
It's like
it's
maybe Fleming.
you could go Fleming.
I still don't think he's as good as other prospects.
21. I mean, it's just like
But he kind of fits there. But yeah, do you go for fit or do you go for best player? That's up to you, dude.
I honestly think they trade this pick when it comes right down to it. to try to get a piece that fits their timeline right now.
They definitely could. Dude, play Leonard Miller. That's a dude who needs minutes.
Yeah.
Every time I watch him, he's great.
But it's like you could go Kalkbrenner and try to reach on a center.
I don't like any of the rest of these centers. I really think after the top 2 centers, there's just none
There's
left.
a big fall off. You could go Nick Clifford to try to like fit your timeline of him being 22 and a polished scorer, but like, do you really need that? I don't know. I like Fleming here.
Okay.
Big, physical, you know, can play that 4 position. I think he brings a good aspect to the Wolves and allows them to like, you know, have a bit more physical of a presence inside, which I think they do need.
Cool. So that's our mock draft. Yeah, it's weird. We're only doing 17, but we honestly don't know too much to do all 30. And we know like 14 just seemed like pretty short.
And now we're just back to the Wizards. And
yeah, like, we don't care about these repeat picks anymore, honestly.
Yeah.
So yeah, we will quick prediction for how many we'll get right. I think the top 2 are just automatically going to be right.
Yeah.
I think it's 5.
I give us 5 too. Yeah.
I think 5's solid, and 5's like you're not an expert or anything, but it's pretty hard. Like these drafts are super random.
Yeah.
Like I'd actually be happy if we got 5, right?
I would too. Yeah.
Ace Bailey. Like, yeah, I think the Sixers should take him, but I don't think they will. And then once that happens, it's gonna kind of go all over the place. But I can't wait for this draft. I'll probably miss the second half of the first round because I have to work, but that first half's gonna at least be pretty exciting.
Yeah, it should be.
For some reason, the second round's the next
On
day,
a different day.
which I think is stupid.
I think they're the NFL.
But yeah, that's our mock draft, and that's also the pod. So
Yeah.
probably well over 2 hours. Yeah, it's probably like 2 hours 20 minutes. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed, if you're somehow still here,
So
I don't expect anyone to be too.
you really stuck it out then if you're still here. I mean,
yeah. If you enjoyed, like, comment, subscribe, and peace out.